Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 77 of the Rock and Roll Beer Guy podcast. This episode is brought to you by Wendigo Tea. Go to the website, wendigotea.com, and check out their selection of teas. They've got pretty much every tea you can want, between green tea, black tea, Earl Grey tea, chai. My personal favorite, the Siren. That one's made specifically for anyone that uses their voice for a living, whether it's a musician, singer, a podcaster, a newscaster, radio host, announcer. Anybody that uses their voice as an instrument benefits from using the Siren. It has ginger and honey and some of the best tea leaves in the world. You know, Sky travels the world, picks these by hand, finds the best ingredients, and that's the only thing he wants to bring you, the best tea in the world. Go to the website, use the promo code RRBG, and save 15% off of your order. Also, please check out our Patreon page. If you go to patreon.com/rockandrollbeerguy, you can get yourself access to exclusive interviews from Psycho Las Vegas, including ones with Andrew WK, CKY, I Hate God, and Slaved. I mean, they were tremendous. I had a blast there. And you'll be able to hear all of it, uncut, exclusively available for patrons. Just sign up for $5. You can get access to all of it. And you'll support the podcast in the process. In this episode, I talked to Andy Williams of the band Everytime I Die. I met up with Andy in the Hollywood Hills at his girl's house, and we sat down and talked about wrestling for a long time. I had a blast, honestly. I love pro wrestling. I was thinking about cutting out some of the pro wrestle talk, but you know what? I'm just going to leave it to be a whole 2-hour long podcast. 1 hour pretty much about pro wrestling and 1 hour about music and other things. He's honestly one of the coolest dudes I know. I really appreciate him inviting me out to hang out. And then we actually went and caught a pro wrestling show together. If you're wondering why I keep mentioning it, it's because he's actually pursuing a career in pro wrestling as the Butcher of Buffalo. Anyway, check it out. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Tell your friends. Cheers.
I want to be dead with my friends. I want to be dead with my friends. Why I brilliant dynamic rest. I want to be dead with my friends. I want to be dead with my friends. When the iron sharpens the iron. When the iron sharpens the iron. When the iron sharpens the iron. Sharpens the iron. I want to be dead with my friends. I want to be dead with my friends. Loud and loud, unforgettable end. I want to be dead with my friends. Let boredom cease.
Welcome, everyone, to the Rock and Roll Beer Guy podcast. I'm sitting here in a lovely palatial estate up in the Hollywood Hills with Andy Williams.
Hi.
How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great.
Oh, let me get my notes out. I do have notes. I mean, I have a ton of shit I want to talk to you about.
Please.
But I do have notes.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, you have your own podcast.
Yep.
Kicking Ass with Jesse and Andy.
Yep. Kicking ass, no G.
Kicking. Yeah. Oh, for me, it's rock and roll. I have to tell everybody that. It's the
No
letter
G.
N. No A end.
Yeah.
And you play guitar in a band. Everytime I Die.
Yep.
You don't play in another band.
No, just every time I die.
I have seen you in guest spots. and stuff.
Trap Them. I played with Trap Them for a little bit.
There we go. Yeah. And you're also a pro wrestler.
Yeah. I can't ever stop. So, yeah.
How do you have time for all this shit?
I don't know, man. It's starting to get to the point where it's not affecting my relationship with my girlfriend, but she can always tell when the wheels are turning. Because something will happen. We'll be out to eat or something like that, and then I'll just start staring off into the thing. And she's like, "Hey, what are you thinking about?" And I'm like, "Oh, just a guitar riff." And then 2 seconds later, it's just thinking of other things to do during the heat in a wrestling match. Just shit like that. Always constantly I'm always thinking, or podcasts, stuff we could do to make it just, how it is. You do a podcast and you have your normal job that you do. And then a podcast actually turns into this second job where it's okay, I have this many listeners. How do I get more listeners? So you try to instead of just making it one path, you kind of want to go in every path to try to
to see what works.
Exactly. And not even to see what works, but it's just if I'm getting wrestling fans listening to Kickin' Ass, here's some bands, you know what I mean? Here's some movies that I like. Here's some diet things that I'm doing. Here's, you know what I mean? Or workout things that I'm doing, just shit like that. So it's like always trying to steer them towards like, without sounding like a pompous ass too. Like that's kind of the thing where it's just like, here's my world. Let me give it to you. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm gonna open the doors to my world
for
you.
Yeah. And this is going to make you a better person because I'm a great person. You know what I mean? Like, and that's, which is, you know, you don't want to come off like that. You just want to be like, hey, this is what works for me. Blah, blah, blah. I think this movie's awesome. Mm-hmm. You might not.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, I've always struggled with that too because I've always been a person. I just like everything.
Yeah, same here.
And it's hard to narrow down audiences. Even with my band, you know, we were in a band for 10 years, and every song just sounded different.
Yeah,
because we were just doing what we wanted, what sounded fun.
Dude, that's the best thing. It was funny. I was trying to explain this to my girlfriend this morning, and it was like someone released a single or whatever like that, and she kind of was like, oh, you know.
Cult Leader just released one. Is that it?
It's not Cult Leader.
Okay.
No. But like, you know, it was someone just trying to do something completely different outside of their box. Mm-hmm. And like, it's like, oh, you know, and then when you talk to the guys, they're like, oh, we did this because this is what's going on now. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, okay, well, you kind of just compromised your like fans, and you kind of compromised your like,
to fit in with a certain trend or something.
Yeah. Like you're not necessarily writing what you want to write. You're writing what you think will pop an audience. And like, instead of like when Everytime I Die writes a song, it's like years ago we worked with Joe Breezy. Joe Breezy said that your record, and this is fucking Joe Breezy, Joe motherfucking Breezy telling you this. So you have to fucking, you know, you have to listen to that guy. You know, he said like when you write a record, you should write a record trying to create the greatest set list that you can play live, that your fans will like. So then it's like, oh shit, like, and this is, mind you, this is when we were doing pre-production. The record was already written, so it's like, well,
too late now. Let's rewrite.
Son of a bitch, you know.
Yeah.
And then, you know, when you're actually putting the CD out there, it's like, okay, this song would be amazing to start with. You know, you could go out every single night and play that one first, and you know the crowd's gonna be like, oh, you know what I mean?
Right.
And I just always thought that a compromise is outside of that, is like, instead of being like, oh, what would an Everytime I Die fan like? It's like, what would everybody like? I'm gonna write that. Right. Which is, for me, is just like disgusting. And like, but I'm also like a weird person that like, pop music to me is like, the greatest pop band of all time is Hot Snakes to me. Okay. So that's how my brain works.
Okay. All right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
yeah,
like,
yeah.
or like Jesus Lizard, which is like fucked. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know,
so,
but when I listen to that, that's poppy to me. You know, mm-hmm. Like when I hear it, I'm like, oh shit, I could like shake my ass to this. I could also, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Peter Gabriel's that for me.
yeah. Sledgehammer all the time.
Yeah. It's hard, man. Like trying to identify your own voice. I mean, you guys definitely have done it with Everytime I Die. I feel that when I hear a song, even if no one tells me what it is, I'm like, yeah, that's Everytime I Die. Or that's someone trying to sound like Everytime I Die. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not to say that all your songs sound the same.
No.
You just have a voice.
Yep.
And that's hard to find. I mean, my band, like I said, one song is like a power ballad. The other one's a freaking straight up tech metal, math metal, whatever you want to call it. And it would isolate the audiences a bit too.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why when I started this podcast, I'm like, you know, let me just grab two things that I like.
Of course.
But now I'm like 80 episodes in. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to start talking to everyone.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Who cares? Yeah, and that's like the best part about having a podcast too, is then you start realizing like you have the opportunity to dictate where the conversation goes, and then you can kind of drag those two things out of people who normally would never be into, like, you know, like for kicking ass. It's like Jesse is like 18 years wrestler. Yeah. You know, trained by Les Thatcher. I'm a dude that's been around for 23 years doing music. So if we get like some weird, like we had like this dude from Buffalo, like he called Big Frank on, and he literally was like, you know, Mr. Buffalo. Like he was a big, I mean, the dude was monstrous, just a huge bodybuilder. Mm-hmm. And like, I don't know about this dude. You know what I mean? And you think like bodybuilding, like, oh, this guy's going to come on. He's probably going to he's going to talk about God or something like that, you know, like, and how like,
I pump for Jesus.
Yeah. Like something like that. Like you never know. Right.
Right. Yeah.
But then, you know, you talk and it's like, oh shit. Okay. Like you kind of get a little bit out of the guy, and then you're like, oh shit. Like he was around when like Buried Alive was around. I wonder if he knows like hey, were you a doorman at this time? Like at like the Continental in Buffalo or something like that. And he's like, actually I was. You know what I mean? And then they're like, oh, I was at that show. Oh, I was at that show. And you're like, oh shit. Okay. I was there as a kid,
Nice.
Yeah. And like, I think that's awesome though. Like with me, like everything that I do in my brain revolves around like kind of creating a song, and that even in conversation, it's peaks and valleys, wrestling, peaks and valleys,
sure,
music, peaks and valleys. Like everything is peaks and valleys. So like, yeah, like when I have these conversations, I always try to create that like peak and valley where I can like talk about anything, and I can always bring it back to my world, if they're not going there. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. If there's like a lull in the conversation, just like, yeah, well, I have this to talk about. Yeah. That's funny, man. I got to say, listening to you guys, I've been to so many of your shows that I've lost track, but I can hear the creativity that you guys have, even just note for note, because it's one of those things that takes you up and down. I've gotten so many injuries at your shows.
Yeah. That's like, it's funny because there's so many, like that's a random, like every single time I meet a person, they're just like, oh yeah, I got like my head kicked off at your show, like whatever.
And how old are you? You're not.
I'm 40 years old.
You're 40, but you're not that much older than me. I'm turning 37.
Yeah.
So it's weird to say I grew up listening to your music.
Yeah.
Because we kind of grew up together while that was happening.
What part of Jersey are you from?
Jersey City. I was born in Jersey City.
Did you go to like did you ever go to like the Melody Bar?
Oh no, I mean I left Jersey when I was 16.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So this is like you left just after like Nora.
Yeah.
Like all those bands.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't really doing anything musically at 15, 16 yet. My music career or thing, like involvement in music, started when I went to Miami.
Yeah.
And I went out there, met some dudes, and they kind of shaped me because I grew up very strict Catholic, and like I wasn't really. I'm not anymore, obviously.
Yeah.
But I never listened to anything aggressive. It was always like Bee Gees or some Led Zeppelin, not too much because it gets heavy and crazy.
Which I love. I love that.
So growing up, like I remember clearly one memory from Jersey. The first experience I had was Pantera.
Yeah.
And it was the weirdest shit. I was out in Seaside Heights. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
I know.
And they had a game where you spin a roulette wheel and you put money down, and if you win a prize. And they had a bunch of shit, and they had Great Southern Trendkill.
Yep.
And I was like, man, that cover looks cool. It has a snake on it. I like the name. I'll take that. Put it home. Get home. I'm sitting in the living room with my mother, who doesn't like anything.
Like that. Yeah.
And I put it on, and it just starts.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah. Like, my whole world changed. It was insane. And I mean, I'm not like a diehard, Pantera dude, but that's what changed me.
That record is crazy too, though. Like that record is like the one that like kind of.
It's got the Suicide Note.
Yeah, Suicide Note number 2. There's, one of the biggest breakdowns in the history of breakdowns. That record, but it's like really weird because it's like that record was like, they were kind of going this like weird. There was like blast beats on that record. Mm-hmm. There was like acoustic guitars on that record.
That was like definitely their most experimental, I would say.
For sure. And that's a wild record to like have your like
cherry popped.
It's just like you said, just opens.
Seriously,
with just
the first thing is just what the fuck?
Yeah, man.
And I set that as my alarm for years after that. Like,
which is
that's
great.
how I'm gonna wake up in the mornings. But when I discovered you guys were just starting. It was the first album, Last Night in Town.
Yep.
My band was playing shows amongst local friends and playing local shows, and everybody's like, check out this record. And so I started going and you guys were playing almost every Warped Tour.
Yeah.
And I remember this one memory actually. I was in Asheville.
Yep.
I was out there with my band, and you guys played, I think, with Killswitch.
Yeah, in that weird big place.
The Orange Peel.
Yep, the Orange Peel.
Yeah,
that area was amazing.
I love that place.
Yeah.
And Orange Peel really took care of us. I'm assuming they took care of you guys.
Of course.
I think they take care of everyone.
Big time.
They brought out tubs of beer, and they ironed my shirt. Yeah. I was like, what are you doing? It's a show. They're like, yeah, well, you gotta look nice. I'm like,
yeah.
But we were standing talking, you and I, actually, a while back at that show, and this was during Killswitch set. I remember we were just shooting the shit, and
Yeah.
some dude threw up on your back.
I remember that. Yeah. We were right by the bar.
Yes.
And he threw up in the back of my legs.
Oh my God, I remember that. I just remember talking to you and thinking, I'm like,
Dude, I just thought about that like literally like 2 weeks ago. And I was like telling someone, I was like, I was at a show and a dude threw up on the back of my fucking legs.
yeah.
And I was so mad.
I know. I saw your face. You were just like, what's going on? I'm like,
Yeah.
some dude just threw up behind you. And you're like, did that fucking just happen? I'm like, yep, sorry.
Yeah.
You just ran out of there, dude. I thought that
Yeah.
was fucking hilarious, but also I could see how it could be very upsetting to
Oh,
you.
it sucks. Well, when you're on tour, it's not like you can go like just wash your clothes.
Right. Now you're fucked. Now you gotta go like,
Yeah.
I mean, you could, but it's just going to be shit in a sink, you know, or something like that.
That was with Dillinger, right? Kill Switch, Dillinger,
Yeah.
Parkway Drive.
Yep. I ended up, it was so funny. Dillinger opened.
So we were like rotating back and forth.
I think they
Us
opened
and
that
them.
night.
So it was like Parkway always opened. Then it would have been either us or Dillinger,
Mm-hmm.
and then us or Dillinger,
And Kill Switch.
and then Kill Switch. Yeah.
It's so funny because I remember, I think Dillinger played. I got in the pit like an idiot, and I ended up getting hit in the ribs really hard to the point where I was spitting up blood.
Okay, that's not
So yeah, and I went to the first aid, which was just the kitchen,
good. Of course.
and they're like giving me water and ice and whatever, and I hear you guys start, and I just threw everything out, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Fuck you, I'm going back in."
Yeah.
And yeah, I've sustained too many injuries at your shows, but. It's so funny when you finally started doing pro wrestling. It made so much perfect sense to me because
Yeah.
every time I see you at shows, like that's the vibe you get. You look
Yeah.
like a pro wrestler.
Yeah.
You got the build for it. You got, the intensity of the music already is there.
Yeah.
And you used to get like our buddy Josh Barnett
Yep.
would come out and like throw people.
Yeah. Yeah. What's funny, that was like Josh was like, I trained. So God, me and Josh are months apart from each other. So I think Josh is a November baby and I'm a December baby.
Okay.
So like we're about a month away. I think he's like beginning of November. He's got a birthday coming up. And I mean, he was already, God damn, when he was 19 years old, he became UFC heavyweight champion.
Yeah. Baby
Right?
face.
He beat Randy Couture, just wild. Mm-hmm. I was training to become a pro wrestler at that time. So when I was like 18, 19, I would go up to St. Catherine. It was not St. Catharines, around Burlington, Ontario, 2 times a week to train. And then I ended up blowing my ACL like 6 months in.
Wow.
And then started Every Time I Die. So like the catalyst of me not becoming a pro wrestler was an ACL injury that then steered me towards
The band.
Every Time I Die.
That's crazy. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So I always thought you were in the band and then you loved doing wrestling. And then
Yeah.
it just happened. Like
Yeah.
from an outsider's perspective, I mean, I just only recently started hearing about this, like a couple years, maybe 4 years.
Well, that was the thing. I started like, I would think I was like 30, that was your age, 37, 36, 37. And I had started like, I think like the dudes in the band like started like buying houses and they started like talking about children. And,
Oh boy.
and then like Jordan's like art career like took off and then Keith's like writing career took off. And I was like, oh man, we're going to slow down. And if we slow down, I don't have anything other than the guitar. Like, that's it. Like, you take a guitar away from me, I'm a homeless guy. So I'm like, all right, I got to do something. I was like, well, I'm going to try this pro wrestling thing. And it just so happened that a school opened up in Buffalo called Grapplers Anonymous. Started going, and it was funny because I'd like already taken my bumps. Like, I already figured like bumping out 20 years before. And then, my roles and stuff like that. Now it was just like, okay, let's get psychology. Let's get, my
Which
movement is okay.
the most important thing for
Dude,
me.
it's so insane. And like I said, I never stopped thinking about it, So, yeah, and I started doing it. I literally just wanted to do it as like an exercise thing.
I figured at first it was gonna, like spots, just like
Not
a guest
even.
spot.
I didn't even want to do that. I didn't want to like, I never wanted to expose wrestling in the way of like, here's a band guy. I just wanted to be a wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
So like when I'm on a flyer and it says like Andy Williams from Every Time I Die, it annoys the fuck out of me.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because then it's like a wrestler is going to like go like, oh, this guy's taking our job or this guy's taking a spot. I'm not trying to take a job. I'm not trying to take a spot. I literally just want to wrestle you.
Yeah.
I don't care if you like know my band, like my band, hate my band, or even know that I'm in a band. like, I just want to wrestle, you know? And I didn't even want to do that. Like I said, I just wanted to go like almost like as if, like it was like some sort of like spin class. Like I go in, I just bump around with the guys and just become a bump dummy for like the local dudes who are like, that need that.
Yeah.
You know? And then Josh got in my ear and he was like, come on, man, do one. You got to do one match. And I was like, no, man, I don't want to do one.
So this is all
match.
Josh's fault?
Kind of. I mean, he like, not that he like, Josh is, and I'm sure everybody has a friend like this. Josh is like the ultimate alpha.
Yeah.
And like, regardless if you've ever seen him lose a fight or if you've seen him win a fight, he's still an alpha. You know, and like any fight that he's ever lost, if you put him up against that guy 10 out of 10 times, that one time is the only time that's going to happen.
Right.
He's going to beat them 9 times. You know, like it's insane. And then when you like meet him and you like talk to him, he's an alpha, like to a sense that like he even commands conversations about stuff he might not even know about. You know, and not saying it's not like fake it till you make it.
Right.
It's just a matter of like you mention something and then just out of nowhere, he'll have some sort of thread that he's going to pull, and he's going to keep pulling that thread until he has your entire shirt. You know, like, and he'll know everything about it. I mean, the guy's one of the only people on earth that can tell you how to take a tank apart and put a tank back together. That isn't a tank mechanic.
Right. Yeah, he's very schooled, like very knowledgeable. I had him on the show, and yeah, he just kept citing books
insane,
and shit
dude.
that I've never heard of.
Yeah.
Like, okay, cool.
It's crazy.
And you usually think of like a person like him, like a UFC fighter, the dummies and the meatheads or whatever. You know what I mean? And you look at him, and it's very well spoken, very educated. Yeah, it's nuts, man.
So and that was the thing. He was just kind of like the guy that was just, he kind of like spearheaded it, where it was just like, all right.
And he's training wrestlers. Did you do any training?
Yeah,
with him?
I trained with him.
Okay.
I trained with him for a little bit. It was weird, like when Shayna first started like training to become a pro wrestler. Like I was out here at the time, and like the first vertical suplex Shayna ever gave was me. And she held me. I think at the time she was about 140 pounds.
Wow.
And she held me like up and then dropped me. I think like Jessamine Duke has a picture of it or something like that. But like, it was awesome. You know, like just to like, you know, like Shayna's gonna be a big deal in WWE.
She already was champ.
Yeah.
Man, she's doing
and
good.
I don't know if she'll ever consider me part of that path, but I was a tiny bit of that path.
That's good.
You know what I mean? But yeah, it was Josh, and you know, he made it a point to make sure that like I did like catch as catch can stuff. And
Well, that for anybody listening, because this is not a wrestling podcast.
No,
but,
not at all.
But if you're listening, the catch wrestling is usually when there's no pre-plan. You're kind of just you're pushing each other to the limits, trying to put moves on each other, and then kind of figuring it out.
Yeah.
There's no pre-planning or choreography or any of that. No. Now, I respect that so much more. Like I saw his match over at the Everytime I Die Christmas thing.
Yeah.
And that was fantastic.
Yeah, him versus Thatcher.
Yeah.
It's just, and those dudes like they like drool over that stuff. Like for me, I'm like, oh man, I gotta hit the ropes, man. I gotta like half of my like move set is like hitting the ropes. Mm-hmm. You know, like everything that I do is like super fast. I try to be fast for like a big dude. Mm-hmm. And yeah, like so the whole time I'm watching the match, I'm like, come on, whip him off the ropes, hit the ropes, come on. But that isn't Josh's game, and that's not Thatcher's game. So.
Grappling and throwing you down and dominating is really his game. And well, talking about big guys flying around, like Brody, who's also kind of like a metal, music dude.
Have you ever had him on?
I have not. I've talked to him about it, but we're gonna do it eventually.
Because he's like in Van Nuys. He's not far.
Yeah. We've talked. I see him at PCW all the time.
Are you going to bar tonight?
I want to, but I don't. So my current situation is I got hit by a U-Haul trailer. That's why I was at the chiropractor today.
Jesus. Okay.
Yeah. I was driving in a random hitch trailer with 2 giant storage boxes. Was in a driveway and just started slowly rolling out as I was passing by 40 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Hit the front side of my car. Completely messed up my life because most of my money comes from the car.
Yeah, of course.
So I do, I sell beer for a brewery. I do Uber. And I also just drive around for podcasting.
Yeah, of course.
So everything has been put on hold. And so I want to go to bar, but I don't have a ticket.
Yeah,
and I can't go.
Yeah.
PCW, I'm really good friends with Joseph, so he always puts me on the list. I just, go and I bring him people. I always bring 4 or 5 friends that'll pay for tickets.
Yeah.
So I always feel bad. I really do feel bad asking for guest lists, especially in LA. It's such a fucking nightmare.
Oh, dude, the worst. Yeah. But this isn't a wrestling podcast, but just to put over California right now, like
it's the best.
It's insane, man.
Yeah.
And it's just
it used to be Florida.
Yeah, of course.
And I mean, it kind of is with the Orlando Performance Center and all that stuff. But for an independent scene,
it's insane, man. Every single show, PCW, PWG, bar, like every show is just stacked.
It is. And really talented people.
Everyone.
People that are doing shit. Like you look at PCW, they got Penta, who's like, just went up against Kenny Omega, who, if you don't know who that is, he's considered the best in the world right now. So you're looking at, we're spoiled in South California because you got pretty much the future of wrestling is here.
Yeah. And what's just wild because like for me, like my whole life, as in like my music career started subconsciously in LA because Black Flag's the greatest band to me. So like that scene of like Black Flag, Circle Jerks, like that whole early 80s punk scene was like the reason why we're sitting right here talking right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And their wrestling scene is exactly like that.
Yeah. Anyone listening that doesn't know, bar wrestling really opened my eyes because when I moved here, I only moved here 2 years ago. I was in Miami for too long.
Yeah.
And the first show I went to was PCW. And then after that, the group that I met that took me there, actually, you might know Mark. He manages bands like Black Tusk and Ring Alarm.
Yeah. Yep.
He took me to PCW. We met at a brewery, and he was like, "Let's go to this thing." I'm like, "Yeah." And then he took me to bar wrestling, and I was just blown away because it's a punk show.
Dude, that's exactly it, man. Like that's like in New York, we don't have that like fan up to the ring. Like
right, standing in the side of the ring.
We have to have like you have to have pads on the outside. You have to have barricades. You're not allowed to touch the barricades. Like New York is super old school when it comes to like wrestling. And out here, the first time I ever went to a show was PWG's tag. They do that like tag tournament. It's a 2-day thing. I don't think it's called All-Star Weekend. Anyways, if you're listening to this and you're gonna hate my guts because
everybody's like, talk more about music.
That's called DDT.
Oh, DDT, I know. Isn't that the Japanese?
No, they had
comedy one.
They had that is in but I want to say that they had a tag tournament. It was called DDT. Anyways,
okay.
That was my first one, and I remember like it was Team Tremendous. It was the Beaver Boys, the first match I saw, and like Big Bill Carr like hit the ropes and dove, and I was just like, this is the best thing I've ever seen.
Yeah,
this is the best. A 340-pound man flying through the air, doing a flip into the crowd, and I was like, yep, sold. And I had the same exact chills at that time that I had when I was a kid and went to my first punk show.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. That's how I felt.
Exactly the same way.
That's how I felt, man. I walked into that place. First of all, it's the bar wrestling up in Baldwin is like smelly den of really weird, like creepy pictures on the wall. Dude. And I walk in, I'm like, this is a little weird. And I walk in, everyone has a beer in their hand. Everybody's having a good time. Yeah. The crowd's all into it. They chant about everything, which at first I was a little annoyed at. Because, I'm walking in and I'm like, what's going on? But then I got a few beers in me and I'm like, this is the best.
Yeah, of course.
Fuck that light. You know, and it was just great, man. Brody flying through the air. He's a big fucking dude.
Yeah.
And,
that was like, that's something too, man. Like, and it's weird because, I was in a match with like dudes that probably don't give a shit about what I'm saying. Meaning the dudes we went against. So like when we got the call to do bar wrestling, it was Joey Ryan. It was Eli Drake. And then Johnny Goodtimes. Yeah. Which, like, that was wild to me. Like, when I was like, I'm wrestling Joey Ryan, Eli Drake, and Johnny Goodtimes. Like, this is insane. The worst part is that I was super injured at the time. So I had a torn rotator cuff.
Yeah, I remember we talked about that. Yeah.
And, but I did that with, like, two of my best friends. So I did that with Jesse and Nate, or Brody. And, like, that was the only time in my wrestling career where I got emotional coming through the apron. Like I came through the apron and like, you're just around people. Like there's no like
there's no entrance. Yeah.
You come through the thing and like there's just people right there, and I got like super emotional because everybody was there, just like right there. And then I got in the ring, and like the one thing, like, you know, when you wrestle Joey Ryan, if you don't know who he is,
yes, please.
He's
explain.
the dick flip guy.
Yeah. The internet famous dick guy, dick wrestler or whatever.
And you know, he comes up to me and he, like very nicely, and he says, "Hey, we're going to do the dick flip spot tonight." And I said, "Sure. Yeah, of course." Like I 100%, I asked for it. I was like, "Throw me around the place with your dick. I don't care." So, you know, and he goes, "I just have to vocalize this next part. I know you would never do this, but tonight you have to make it not homophobic." And I was like, "Of course, I would never make it homophobic." And he goes, "I know. I just have to vocalize it just in case."
Right.
And I go, "Okay, well," and he goes, "Here's the other thing. We're not doing heels and faces. We're kind of just wrestling." And I was like, "Well, how am I supposed to put over that I don't want to touch your dick?" You know what I mean? Like I have to kind of heel a little bit. And he was like, "Just go out there and say whatever you want."
But don't be homophobic
that
about it.
never happens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's always a promoter in your ear saying like, this is what you have to say. This is what you have to do. Now tonight we're going to cut a promo, and we're going to cut a promo, and it's going to be about the next show, you know, whatever, because they want to sell tickets. Joey he was just like, go out there and just don't make it homophobic. Just, you don't want to touch my dick. Okay, cool. And then he started going, blah, blah, blah. And of course, he's Hulk Hogan at bar wrestling.
Yeah. He's the man. Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm going to be Roddy Piper, which like I need to make them hate me, but also love me at the same time.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Which you did a good job, because I remember you came out and you did you were saying how you didn't want to associate your music with the wrestling, but you came out like, I'm the fucking best rock star or whatever, guitar player. I'm like, okay, all right, that works.
But today I'm trying to legitimize myself as a wrestler.
Yeah,
that's like basically the story I told, and it was great. And then it was like funny because like I think that week Joey had a shit ton of flights, which he always does. He's flying everywhere.
Yeah,
but I think
Instagram is just him in a plane.
Yeah, and it was a Thursday night, and I think he just got in that morning and then had to leave like right after the show to wrestle in Toronto. I remember because I was at the show the next day.
Yeah,
it was in Toronto the next day. So I felt weird because at the end of the thing, he just came up to me. He's like, "Well, did you have fun?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I really wanted to have this like connective moment where I was like, "Dude, thank you so much." Like, you know, and I wanted to tell him like that. But that's everyday life for him. So he was just like, "Yeah, cool, man."
Have a good
and
day.
Then like walked away, and I was like, "Dude, like that was."
I just touched your
dick. I don't think you understand like what that meant. Like, you know, not what that just meant to me.
Right.
That, like
he just got legitimized.
He flew
pretty much
me and my best friend across the country for me to wrestle, and that was like one thing that I love to do more than anything. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It was just really cool, and it was really cool. I'm stoked to like go to the show tonight and like actually see the show and not participate.
Yeah. It's funny for those that are listening that don't know, because it's a little inside baseball, but bar wrestling is Joey Ryan's promotion.
Yeah.
So he's wrestling and promoting.
Yeah.
But that's
wait, so we can move on from wrestling.
Yeah.
Just in case people are listening.
Yeah, I don't want to bother people too much.
Oh, God damn it, not again.
It's one of those few things in life that, because like I said earlier, I like everything. I love music. I love food. I love art. I love books. I love everything. But wrestling is one of those few things that recently, I'd say in the last 4 or 5 years, has come back into my life. From I used to love it growing up until like Stone Cold kind of tapped out.
Yeah,
and then I just stopped. It was just a coincidence thing. It's not that everybody says that the product got worse or whatever, but it was more for me that I just started chasing girls. That's pretty much what
happens, man.
Yeah. So but you know, and it's just it's overwhelming how much passion I have for the industry, because my girl keeps bringing it up. She's like, everything that we do, you figure out a way to tie it to wrestling. I'm like, yeah,
because it's true, man. Wrestling is life.
It is. It's the highest form of entertainment and theater that I can think of.
Of course.
You know, so that's why I always bring it up and talk to. I mean, I've had Marty Elias on here for no reason. People are just cool. Like, I just want to talk to Marty.
Yeah.
He fucking, was the ref during Undertaker Shawn Michaels. Like, that's insane.
He's the man.
Yeah. Well, anyway, you're going to continue this wrestling as much as you can.
Yep. I just wrestled in West Virginia. I made my girlfriend. We had our bass player got married on the 28th. And my girlfriend was like, just had been talking. She's only seen me wrestle like good shows, you know, and that doesn't mean what I'm going means it was a bad show. It was an awesome show.
It's just a smaller.
She just didn't. She wanted to know where wrestling was still real. So, and it just so happened she's like, "Can you book a show that weekend? Because I want to see you wrestle." And I was like, "Sure." And I'm not kidding you. 5 minutes later, a promoter hit me up in West Virginia to like wrestle in West Virginia, and I was like, "Yep, I'll take it. Whatever you want to pay me, I don't care. Just I'll be there. I'm gonna bring my girlfriend. I'm gonna bring Puff, who's like."
Yeah.
If you guys follow me on Instagram, Puff's the big man that I'm always with.
He's
the
a pro
big
wrestler
happy
too.
looking man. Yeah.
Yeah.
And me and Puff went and we wrestled in West Virginia, and like, you know, there's still people there that think it's real. And
That's awesome.
It's amazing, dude. It's amazing. And like, you know, I wrestled a 400-pound man named Beastman, Wes Fetty, and you know, that's the one thing too, is like when like wrestlers who have been around for a while, they wrestle shows like that, they kind of have like different gears. So it's like, oh, I'm wrestling in West Virginia. It's not that big of a crowd. I'll go in like third gear and I'll do the greatest hits, you know, like that way. Me, the world I come from is like, oh, I'm going to West Virginia. It's going to be All Japan 1993. I'm going to kick the shit out of this dude. He's going to kick the shit out of me. And then at 40 years old, your body isn't as
Right. No spring chicken.
yeah.
Anymore.
And you know, he enziguried me. A 400-pound man enziguried me, and I just sold it, corkscrewed on it, and just drove my good shoulder into the mat and separated it. Like literally like a minute into the match. Like we brawled on the outside because he pulls like the whole wild man of Borneo. You know, like he's just
Beast Man.
He's Beast Man. Yeah. Whereas like the single, which was kind of a big feat in my thing. And I buried him under chairs like Terry Funk.
Nice.
You know, and like went hard with this dude. And like at the end of the match, like, you know, I think Gregory Iron was on the show and he was just like, yo, you didn't have to go that hard. Like they were like popping for like body slams. And like the guy he like Germaned me from like post to post. So like I was in the air and I was like, I don't know when I'm going to hit. Tuck your chin. And then finally hit. And my legs were already up on like the ropes on the other side. Like he threw me from post to post on the thing. And then I was like, I lifted him up. I squatted a 400-pound man, like carried him to the inside, gave him a DVD, finished him. You know what I mean? Like that. Yeah. And it was like, I didn't have to do any of that. They were literally popping for like chops. When I was chopping him, the crowd was like popping. And there's like things I need to like learn still in wrestling where like I can't do that if I want to like keep this going.
Yeah, if you want a lengthy career, you got to be careful.
I'm 40.
And that's the argument with a lot of people that I might just cut this out and put it in my wrestling podcast.
Yeah.
But anyway, a lot of people complain about, you know, they look at talent like AJ Styles or Shinsuke or something that in Japan they were going real hard.
Yeah.
And now they're not. They're like, oh, it's a safer because it's PG-13. I'm like, no, man, they're doing it because they'd like to keep doing this for a while.
Well,
you got to be protective a little bit.
Also, like, I hated Hulk Hogan growing up. Hated him. I didn't understand him. Ric Flair was the real champion.
Yeah.
Hulk Hogan was a guy that just like TV created.
Sure.
Right?
Movie
and
star.
That's how I literally thought when I was a child. I hated him. Like, I hated everything he was about. Like, whatever. I loved Flair. And then being 37 years old or 38 years old, I started watching his like early Japan stuff, like when he was doing New Japan.
Oh, yeah.
And he wrestled a completely different style. And it sucked because his entire style, his entire moveset was exactly what I did at that time. And I was like, damn it. And like Jesse, Pepper Parks or Braxton Sutter, the Blade, if you want to know from
your tag partner.
Our tag partner.
Yeah.
He was just like, yeah, man, this is what I've been trying to tell you. And then I was like, well, why didn't he do this in WWF? And then he goes, well, he didn't have to.
Yeah.
Like they literally just wanted to see Hogan do the greatest hits. And like
the leg drop.
It's all context, man.
Yeah.
It's all context.
And
it makes sense.
WWE is a different thing. Like indie wrestling and New Japan and stuff like that, it's actual physical, it's more important to spots and the wrestling than the storytelling, and WWE is storytelling.
This is the perfect example, like perfect analogy. And I'm not going to use my band because that would be really pompous, but I'll use the Bronx compared to Queens of the Stone Age. Same ethos, same type of band, different context.
Yeah.
Right? So like Queens of the Stone Age, that's you're gonna find a chick that's at like a normal ass bar downtown that likes that band. You're not gonna find a Bronx fan there.
No.
Right?
No.
But if you played the Bronx for that person, they'll
love
shit, this
it.
is awesome.
Yeah.
Completely different context, you know?
Sure. Yeah. Well, last thing about wrestling.
Okay.
If like NXT came calling, would you go? Would you put a slow down on Every Time I Die and go to NXT?
Never. And Every Time I Die is like that's my passion. Like that's what I do. NXT, you know, if they wanted to do like they had like James Storm come in for like a match or two, like which I popped hard on because that's hard on. I popped hard because like TNA from like 2004 to like 2007 was like my favorite thing in the world.
Yeah, that was a good time.
So yeah, they brought like James Storm in. Then like I had no idea Scotty 2 Hotty was the trainer there, but they had Scotty come in and do a couple matches. And like if they wanted to do something like that, I would do it. But I'm a 40-year-old dude that like I get hurt every single time I wrestle. Like they're not gonna want me. I got like brittle bone disease or something.
Well, no, I mean it's just you haven't spent the amount of time that you've spent in music. You haven't spent that amount of time in wrestling to kind of build the calluses,
of course,
of the bumps and everything. So you're as tough and as hardcore as you may be, you haven't been taking bumps for
of course
that long. So
and that's like the thing. Like it's just those dudes know the way their bodies are going to land when they're in the air. Or me, I'm just like, oh, I'm going to hit it sometime. Here we go. Oh, bam, there it is.
It blows my mind when I see people like Ricochet or something adjusting in midair.
Dude,
like, he's not gonna hit it. Oh wait, no, he fixed it.
Straight up CGI, man.
Yeah, that's
and
not
like that's human. If you have a chance to see this dude Ricochet in real life, watch, and it is wild. It blows my mind. Like every time I see him wrestle, he does something where I'm just like, nope.
Jeez.
I would never be able to do that. And I've been on the top rope before.
Even know what I mean? Simple things like that one thing he did where he flipped around just to get out of the ring to go meet Velveteen in his face.
My knees would shoot out my ass. As soon as I'd hit, it was just like, Boop!
It's like those fail videos you see on Facebook where like somebody's about to take a dive and then their toes hit something and they fall. Like that's what happened to me.
Yeah.
No doubt.
I would look like, it would look like when you like accidentally don't know that the bread sleeve that your like Wonder Bread's in isn't open and then the bread just kind of falls out one by one. That's what I would look like going to the outside like that. It was just, I would hit everything on the way down and then I would land weird.
I've always wanted to. I was a wrestler in high school, but like actual like Greco-Roman wrestling, and I always wanted to be a wrestler, dude. But I think it was like 2002 after my first car accident that I had that kind of like changed everything. I broke my collarbone. All my right side of my body's full of scar tissue and shit. So I can't wrestle, but I love the business. So I've been talking to Joseph and stuff. I'm like, I want to maybe become a mouthpiece.
Yeah.
Take like a couple chops.
Yeah.
Someone pushes me, I push him back. It's not actual wrestling.
But you're involved.
But I'm involved somehow. And I could be that. The one person I was talking to about it was Raynon Bozio. Yeah. And we were talking about him and Creighton from, he's in a bunch of bands. He's in Diamante and Orgy. And they were going to tag and have me come out as their douchebag Hollywood band manager guy. In a suit with a chain.
Yeah. Real gross.
Real God. Super gross. And I got the curly chest hair to pull it off, so I think we can do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that might be where I want to give that a shot at some point.
Yeah. It's, I mean, I think that's like a total forgotten piece of wrestling now.
It's starting to come back.
Yeah. And well, you got like Stokely Hathaway, who is like, Stokely is, I don't know Stokely at all. So this is just literally an unbiased opinion. He is amazing. Like that guy is, because he can take bumps. He can, I mean, he was a worker. So he can like throw moves. Like he pedigreed Marco Stunt the other day. It was all over the internet. It was amazing.
Nice.
But yeah, you know, like a guy like that, he's so good on the mic. He's great on social media. He's good at like cutting promos, like making. That's one thing too. Is like now with this age of like social media, even regardless to wrestling, you take us doing podcasts, musicians. Social media is such a tool.
Oh yeah.
That if you don't use it, you're an idiot.
Yeah, you're left behind in the dust, man.
For real.
That's the only reason the podcast. Well, I'm not gonna say that's the only reason because that sounds too self-deprecating.
Yeah.
But one of the main reasons that the podcast has done well is that I push it, man. I sit there,
of course, dude.
2-3 in the morning. I'm on Instagram, fucking commenting on shit and leaving likes and following certain people. Like it's a job.
But the thing is, like you told me, like this morning you did a podcast. You went to the chiropractor. And now you're here doing another podcast.
Fuck yeah,
that's a job.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So like you should, you have to.
And I get money out of it sometimes. I sometimes get sponsors and they throw money. So I mean, it is a job. And you got to treat it as such.
And dude, that going to our podcast, think about having to leave where like we do a weekly podcast. So like I go on tour.
Oh man.
You have to like on my time off, we're doing 4 or 5 podcasts a week.
Stack them up.
To just kind of stack up. And it sucks like because you're kind of getting like we're talking about things that would have happened like 3 weeks or 2 weeks before.
Right, they're not as topical.
Yeah. But that's the way it's got to be done. And we try to like keep it relatively interesting where it's like, oh, we're going to do, for you wrestling fans, we're going to like do an old Nitro. We're going to like watch a Nitro beginning to end and then talk about the things saying like that was the Wild West of wrestling. Like if you talk to any wrestler that worked at that point in time for WCW, anything went. It was just like, okay, you got 12 minutes, go out there.
Yeah, they gave him creative control, and I mean, eventually led to the downfall of the company.
Of course. But then you have like dudes like Jericho who like we're doing right now. Mm-hmm. Jericho is that guy that consistently stayed on top of what matters there.
Yeah.
And now at the age of 48 years old, I think he is 48 years old, he's still one of the most important wrestlers in wrestling right now.
Is there anyone living their best life more than Jericho right now? Because that dude,
it's unreal.
He's like, I love music, so I'm going to do my band thing. We're going to tour and fuck WWE schedule. And when I come back, if they want me, cool. If they don't, fuck you. I'll go to New Japan.
Can you imagine having those options? It's just like,
God.
I'm just going to go do this instead. It's cool.
And you've built a career that's so powerful that you can walk into Vince's office and be like, I'm going to go to New Japan.
Yeah. And he's like, cool.
Yeah.
Good luck, bud.
Make it work.
We'll be here.
Make us more money.
Yeah.
Because that's what he's doing.
Of course.
End of the day, he's going to retire in WWE.
He has to.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's like a dude like that is like, that's like an inspirational force for me where it's like, man, this dude's 48.
And he's cranking out podcasts too.
No time.
No.
I'm good. I'll do that. And I have a girlfriend who's like insane about being busy. Mm-hmm. So she like works for Real Good Foods. She's a competitive bodybuilder. She does, it's insane. She's like big in the coffee world. So she's like friends with like the Death Wish guys. She just did their podcast and stuff like that. Like,
nice.
So like both of us are like on this like devious plan to just kind of like take over our little part of the world.
Well, that's the way to do it, man. You guys help each other out, and you've got your world and your connections, and she's got hers, and, and it intermingles. It's perfect.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Speaking of coffee, I recently met the dudes from Bayside, and they're starting a coffee company called Legal Speed.
Right. It's so like where Violent Gentleman is in Costa Mesa. Mm-hmm. It's like right next to them. So like that's wild.
Tell me a little bit about Violent Gentleman. I don't know a lot. I know it's associated with you guys. I know it has to do with hockey.
Yeah.
But how did that whole thing happen?
So it's just basically my buddy Mike Hammer was basically bootlegging George Peros shirts outside of Ducks games. And it said something, I can't remember, it was like Peros Army or something like that when Peros played for the Ducks. Mm-hmm. George Peros, if you don't know what hockey, if you're not a hockey fan, was like one of the biggest like bruisers ever in hockey. Mm-hmm. And I hope he listens to this if he can, because the man is an extremely talented hockey player, but played for 9 seasons. I might be wrong about that. Might be like 9 to 12 seasons, and scored like 10 goals. So, But he's revered in the league as to having like one of the most accurate shots, which if you look at stats, I don't know how that's proven because he's only got 10 goals. But
well, all 10 of them were perfect, man.
yeah. Anyways, he's one of the most fantastic human beings on the earth. He was walking through the offices of the Ducks thing and saw a box of these shirts. And what had happened is the legal department came out and cease and desisted or threatened cease and desist on Mike. So he just gave the shirts up. And Paris was like, well, what are these, man? And they're like, oh, there was a guy like bootlegging them outside. And he was like, well, did you get the guy's number? And they're like, well, yeah, because we were going to like threaten to like sue him if he kept making these. And he was like, can I have it? And then he like called Mike and was like, hey, man, you want to just do something? And then they became business partners.
Wow.
Our buddy Brian is a graphic designer, so he came on board. And then the three of them built this like crazy little empire geared towards hockey fans. And then like bands who are fans of hockey bands. So like, and we were like the first band they really got behind. And I mean, they really got behind it. And like, it's kind of weird sometimes because you'll meet people who are just like, I don't know if like Violent Gentleman's like an Every Time I Die thing or if it's like a hockey thing.
Right.
Yeah. You know, and like at one point in time, it was almost like I was like the brand ambassador, like the mascot for them, because still to this day, every guitar I own has a Violent Gentleman sticker on it. I don't go on stage without Violent Gentleman stuff, like a Violent Gentleman hat or like a shirt on or something like that. And it's just because two of my best friends started a really sick clothing line.
That's awesome. I honestly thought you had something to do part of it, you know?
No, it was just literally two of my best friends, like dudes that have like through the years, it's just like, oh, where's Andy? Oh, I don't know. We haven't talked to him in a while. And then like just, you know, noticing that like I'm on like non-tour doldrums. So I'm at home just sitting around, not talking to anyone, just like in my underwear watching wrestling or whatever. And then like they would hit me up and be like, hey, we got you a plane ticket. Come out to Orange County and like hang. And then like they'd like take me out of this like depression of not touring and take me out there and then like hang. You know what I mean? Like just stuff like that. So anytime I've ever been, you know, being in a band isn't the most secure job.
No, it's not.
So, you know, there's times where like money is sparse. Then there's other times where like money's totally fine. I can take a trip, you know, or, you know, whatever. It's just the life I've chosen is just completely numbers in a hat that you're picking constantly.
For sure. Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I feel the same way, and I'm not in any way comparing myself to you.
No, but
where your career's at.
Hustling.
The hustle's there.
Of course, man.
You know, like even right now, I mean, because of this whole situation with the accident, I'm just doing all kinds of shit.
You have to.
You know, just to make ends meet. You know?
Yeah.
It's funny, man. I always saw the Violent Gentleman logo on like the most random people too. Like, that looks like a dad.
Yeah.
And he's wearing a Violent Gentleman's hat, and I'm like, does he know what Every Time I Die is? Maybe he just likes hockey. I don't know what's going on.
That's the thing, though. Like, you know, I think there was like a poll on like Facebook, and it was like, do you think people know Violent Gentleman more towards hockey or for Every Time I Die? And it was like 83% of the people said Every Time I Die or something like that. It was
it's on your guitar pick. I just remember that
everywhere.
I have a collection. Every time I can get a guitar pick, I have a board, and it all started with Billy Joel,
which is amazing.
Yeah.
Why does he have a guitar pick? Oh,
His
Billy
guitar.
Joel from
No, not Green Day. Billy Joel,
actual Billy
Piano
Joel.
Man.
Yeah.
It's not his per se. It's his guitar player, his like studio guy.
It would be sick if Billy Joel was just throwing picks out
right
and then
in the middle of playing the piano. Like, whoa.
Here's a pick, man. He's throwing piano keys out.
Man, I'll share a little story how I even got that pick. I used to do stage production back in Miami at the arena, at the American Airlines Arena.
Yeah.
And building stages, doing lighting, all that shit. And they gave me show call for Billy Joel, and I'm standing on stage while he's playing Piano Man. Oh. And I just remember looking out at the crowd, which is a fucking stadium.
Yeah.
And the entire audience is singing back to him, and my hair almost came out of my arm, like just
Yeah.
I can't believe this. It was such an inspiration that I'm not going to say that that's why I started a band, but that's pretty much around the time period.
So cool.
And I was just like, I need to feel that.
Yeah.
I want to feel that. I may never get to a stadium feel, but that's at least so cool. Like a few people yelling back something at me is amazing to me.
Yeah.
You know?
Nate from Converge has like this wild story about it was when Jay Weinberg was like playing with the boss, Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah.
And Nate's favorite, it's his favorite, like Bruce is like his favorite thing in the world. And Jay was like, hey, why don't you come out to the show tonight and we'll hang and stuff like that. Like I'm playing with Bruce, blah, blah, blah. So of course they show up early, show up to like sound check, and they're sitting at the soundboard and the band's up there and they're like playing. The E Street Band are playing. And Nate hears like, sounds pretty good, huh? And he like looks over and like Bruce is standing next to him. And like,
wow.
If I'm saying this wrong too, Nate, you can call me an asshole or whatever like that. But yeah, Nate told me a story and like, I love hearing stuff like that. That's so cool, man.
Yeah, it blew my mind just hearing so many people screaming back at him. I did so many shows during that. I did it for 2.5 years and it was just every day. It was a massive show. Like, oh, Madonna. Yeah. And Madonna was funny because we spent almost an entire day loading in and she showed up in an SUV we built this ramp and I had no idea what it was for. And it was so that the SUV could drive onto the stage, back into the stage. So the back door opens, she pops out, does her thing, and then gets right back in the SUV and gets the fuck out of the arena.
Can you imagine that life? That life. We just did 4 shows with Fall Out Boy. And
who you guys are friends with, because you had the singer on the Low Teens, right?
Yeah. And that is just, I mean, that world is completely different than ours. So like you're playing an arena every day, and just like that, there's like they roll right up. They're not like people don't see them.
Wow.
There's no like, people outside waiting for them to get to the bus because the bus is right there, either in in like a loading dock or a loading area. Mm-hmm. Like people don't see them, and like it's crazy, man. Yeah. And they said, to just put them over as like being genuine dudes. They realize that that's where life is now. They don't realize it as like, oh, look at me, man, I made all this fucking money. You know what I mean? It's
just they have no choice because if they pop their heads out, that's it.
That's where life is now, And like I was like talking to Patrick, the singer, about how grateful I was. Like, oh man, this is really cool. Thank you for taking our band on this. This is unreal, Mm-hmm. And I was like, I don't know if I like it. It's weird. I don't know how you can do this.
You've been doing it for so long in your way, because you guys still tour in a van.
Yeah, still in a van.
Fuck. I remember at that Asheville show, we were talking about that. I was like, why are you still in a van?
Yeah.
At least get a bandwagon. I don't know.
But that's the thing, man. You tour in a van.
Yeah, no, you save the money.
You can do so much more with life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, just like telling them, it's like, I felt like a caged animal, like up there, like the first couple rows are like moms that take their kids to see like Machine Gun Kelly and Fall Out Boy.
Right.
And then like you have a 40-year-old dude with a huge mustache staring at you like he wants to like kill you. You know what I mean?
Right. And
like,
the sound coming out of the speakers is abusing your ears right now.
But it's cool to like say we did it. You know what I mean?
You guys always played interesting lineups. I'll tell you that. Like sometimes it makes perfect sense. Like even the Kill Switch one was even a little weird because I love Kill Switch. Adam is a fucking, and I'm honored to say that Adam and I have become really good friends.
He's awesome.
And I love him to death, but you two bands don't really mix for me.
Yeah.
It's heavy music, but you guys are fast, chaotic, and they're more of a structured, heavy, power metal type of thing.
Yeah.
Not power metal, but you know what I mean. But you guys, I've seen you guys play with like, some of the like what people would say the Hot Topic bands or and I don't consider you guys a Hot Topic band.
No, but this is the thing, like too, it's like, because you get criticized for that too,
Oh
like,
yeah, I can see
and
it.
like you're gonna get dudes who like, like you're gonna get those like uppity like hardcore kids that are just like, oh, that band fucking sold out.
Why are you playing with them
like that? And it's this, man. If you get in a band to play to the same 200 people all the time, you're a cover band. At that point, if you're, you know what I mean? Like you're just playing the same people, and it's like, on that Friday night, those like 40 to 50-year-old somethings that like, just like, it's Friday night, man. We're going over to the Salty Clam to like see,
some kids are playing in the band. Yeah.
Stan Waters and the, Crab Cakes are playing. We're going to go like see them. cool, man. Like, that's not what I want to do. So if there's going to be people in a place, regardless if they like my band or not, I'm going to go there. I'm going to tear them apart, and I'm going to take as many of them to our shows as we possibly can.
Yeah, that's the way you got to do it.
Yeah. And it's like, it's not a thing of like, oh, we're going to smoke that band. It's just divide and conquer. So it's like, oh, okay, Beartooth, you want to take us on tour? We're going to play in front of 1,200 people a night? Please.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah, let us
like,
murder
you know what I mean?
everyone in that room.
And that's like how you have to look at it. And it's like, and then, you know, when you get there, it's, you don't have that much out of common with those people. You go and it's just like, oh, you like Converge? Oh, me too.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Hey.
Yeah, some people do things that aren't related to their tastes. That's just how it is sometimes.
And dude, like, you know how it is. Like, you pick up a guitar, you pick up a bass, you pick up sticks, a microphone, and you're like, oh man, we are going to be the greatest stoner metal band ever. And then 5 practices happen, and it's like, we're kind of like doing this like fast hardcore thing.
Yeah, it's just happening. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just you don't have this like predetermined sound, like blah blah. You know, it just you have 5 people who are writing songs, and 5 people are going to put their thing into those songs, and it might not be what you're
envisioning.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, unless you're like a Mike Patton, where you're like this band is me, and you are playing my shit.
Yeah.
Then I get that. But but for sure, I totally get that.
But that's the thing. Yeah, and it's, you know, I don't necessarily think that those Hot Topic bands like started and were you know, they could have started in being a ska band.
Right.
I think
even Fall Out Boy weren't those dudes all in hardcore bands before?
Yeah.
So that's you know, they figured it out.
Yeah.
They figured out what needed to happen so they could have a career in music.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I think it was like Code Orange. Like Code Orange started as a ska band when they were like
serious?
13 years old.
No
yeah.
way.
Something like that. Yeah. Like Code Orange kids, but they were like a ska band, and then it just morphed into this and then morphed into that. And now they found their sound. And now
they're not kids anymore.
Yeah. Now they're just Code Orange, which is good. Yeah. You know, and they figured out that like they do this really good brand of electronic, heavy, weird music, you know, and now it's like moving forward, they got their sound, and now they're just going to pave their way. You know?
There's new bands coming up that are kind of following their suit
for sure
now.
Yeah.
I think like Vane is
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I can't stand the people like the elitists you were mentioning.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, why are you doing that, bro? Like my band got offered to open up for Static X.
Yeah.
2 of my band members were like, no.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah. We're opening for Static X. This isn't even a question. I'm not asking you if you want to play.
There's going to be a ton of people there.
We're playing at one of the bigger venues in Florida, the Revolution.
Yeah.
Opening for Static X. Yeah. Let's fucking do that. Why are we even arguing? If Nickelback calls, we're opening for fucking Nickelback, dude.
Yeah.
We're gonna go in there and do our thing, and just no one's gonna like it, but who cares?
Exactly.
Maybe 4 people like it.
That's how I like it. That's what we did. We just did that like Motionless in White tour.
Right.
And
I missed that one, dude. Oh my god.
But like going into it, it was like,
yeah.
I don't know but you know, I don't know.
They're more like a Marilyn Manson, makeup kind of gothy thing.
Kind of turned into like electronic thing now. Now it's kind of turned into like a little like. Those are the nicest dudes in the world, so I don't want to like say anything.
No,
offensive.
yeah, it's just.
But it's kind of like Marilyn Manson light. You know what I mean? Like, but you know, we went on that tour. You know, you get that offer, and you're just like,
yeah.
I guess, yeah. Like, and you look at the numbers, and you're like, oh shit! Like their last like headlining tour, like there were like almost 2,000 people at a show. Sure, like yeah, we're gonna go out there and play in front of that crowd. Fuck yeah, and it's divide and conquer. You know what I mean? So it's like. Yeah, and then you do Warped Tour. We did Warped Tour like right after that, and like I'm telling you, like, not blowing smoke, about 5 to 6 kids a day wearing face paint would come up to me and be like, "Dude, I saw you guys on that Motionless in White tour, and like, never heard of you guys. I'll be at every show
moving forward
for the rest of my life." You know, and it's only 5 or 6 kids, but like,
it's some 5 or 6 more that you didn't have.
Yeah, I mean, it's just insane that like. They're so like that's the thing why you wouldn't like those kids are so impressionable, and they're just trying to find a home. You know what I mean? And it's like, sure, Everytime I Die is a great home.
Yeah, and you never know what it's going to be. What's the trigger for them to be like, oh,
Of course.
Like even older people. Like I just recently found out that the comedian Bill Burr, who I really like, went to a show and saw Meshuggah and was blown away. Like,
Of course.
At age 50, however old he is.
Yeah.
Because it's you never know who it's going to be or what it's going to take. I've always I took this mentality from the dudes in Foxy Shazam. I don't know if you're familiar with them.
Of course.
Eric and them, like Sky, he's got his tea company. They're the sponsors of the
That's
episode
awesome.
right
I
now.
love that.
Wendigo Tea. We played a bunch of shows with those dudes when they were active, like when their first album came out, Flamingo Trigger and everything. We did a little mini tour on the East Coast, and they would play, like we played a coffee shop in Tallahassee,
Yeah.
and there was 4 people there.
Awesome.
And they went harder than anyone I've ever seen in my entire life. Like Eric was on the floor flossing his mouth with the mic cable and like throwing the mic stand in the air. And I'm like, dude, there's no one here. Relax.
Yeah, yeah.
But you can't because one person out of those 4 could have a label, could have money and be like, hey, I'm going to invest in you guys.
Or he might have 10 friends.
Or 10
and he's going to
friends,
go
like,
back and
next
be like,
show,
yo,
this
next
is
time
crazy.
You got to come see this.
Yeah. So you never know who's there. You never know how it's going to work. Just work as hard
That's
as you
kind of
can.
how that's been my attitude to everything. Like literally my entire life.
Well, you were
It's
saying
just-
like the wrestling. You went super hard when you didn't really have to.
No.
But that's how you have to do it.
Yeah, because I want those like people from West Virginia to like drive up to Pittsburgh if I like wrestle in Pittsburgh, or if I, you know what I mean? Like
For sure.
Think of stuff like that. You know,
Yeah.
It just that's Every Time I Die's ethos has always just been like it has nothing to do with the other bands. It just you have a crowd. Okay, we're gonna decimate them.
Yeah.
That's it.
Speaking of the band, you guys working on new stuff?
No,
Nothing yet?
you know what's crazy? We just had the 2-year
Tour cycle?
2-year anniversary of our newest record. Which
It's
nowadays,
crazy.
dude, you think about nowadays, bands can't do that. You have to do every other year. You have to put a record out.
It blew me away. I saw I don't know if it was yours. One of the guys from the
bands,
band posted the Low Teens 2-year thing, and I'm
Yeah.
like, no way. I remember it just came out.
Yeah, that's what it seems like.
That just came out. And by the way, props, dude.
Yeah.
You know, it's difficult for a band in your position, for being around as long as you have, to put out what I think is your best record.
Yeah, same
now
here.
at this
Yeah.
point. You know, not a lot of bands get to do that. It's always the first 2, 3 maybe, and then it's a very steep decline.
Yeah.
You guys are just getting better and better, and it's admirable. You know?
Yeah. And that's like, again, man, it's just one of those things where like the minute you go in and like writing songs isn't easy, like it's just time to move it on, because you're now like, it now seems like a job where you're like working to make a song, where like,
Yeah.
I think we had like 4 songs in like the first 3 days, like done. So it's just like, oh yeah, let's like write. And then it was just like, oh, I have this, I have this, I have this, I have this, I have this. And there's all these ideas because everybody was like waiting for that day. And then everything just comes super easy. And you're just like, oh, and then next thing you know, you have, 14 songs or whatever, 15 songs. And then you're like recording them. And then as you're recording them, you're like, oh, the song's getting better. Nice. Weird. Like I already thought it was there, but now it's like getting better. Crazy,
It's nuts, man. And I mean, you were worried about the band slowing down because people are having kids and stuff like that, but it's not. It's not slowing down.
Yeah.
I would assume that soon, probably in a year or so, you guys will start working on another one, I guess.
Oh, sooner than that. Way sooner than
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
'Cause I know you guys do long tour cycles too. 'Cause
Yeah.
You guys toured pretty much for the whole 2 years that's been out.
Yeah. Like I'm off right now, kind of. And then we did those Fall Out Boy shows the beginning of September. And then next week we do the boat show. So we're playing a boat in New York 3 days in a row.
Oh my God, that sounds
And
awesome.
then we're playing St. Vitus 2 days.
Oh, I love Vitus.
Yeah.
That's great.
So like it's, we have a week of shows there, but those shows are going to be like 5 of the most insane shows. And instead of us being the band that's like, hey, you know what? We go play 16 songs each of those days. Now we're going to be the band that's going to play 23 songs every one of those days. And then probably an encore or something like that. You know what I mean? Like at the end of it, and it's like, whew,
A personal question, because I've been
course.
to so many shows of yours, and I've never heard Logic of Crocodiles live.
Really?
Never.
There
not
was
once.
a point in time where we like that was like a fixture on the set.
That, I mean, shit. 15, 20 shows, maybe more,
Yeah.
and I've never heard it once.
Really?
And it bums me out because that's the song that got me when someone showed me Last Night in Town.
Yeah.
Obviously the first few songs were like, oh, that's really cool, man. Really creative, weird, like weird riffs you guys were doing. Some like playing. It sounded like you were playing around on the guitar, like going up and down the fucking neck, doing crazy shit.
Yeah.
And then Logic of Crocodiles, even with what do you call it?
That's like the EP.
Well, the song that comes before it that has the same riff, the beep 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 beep.
Oh yeah.
So that when I heard you guys bring that back in the middle of that song, I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And that obviously the breakdown is the craziest. You know. So I've always wanted to hear that, but I'm actually kind of glad I never did. I might have broken some bones or something in the mosh pit.
And you probably would have heard it better then than you would now.
Right.
Because that's like one of those things where like I remember when we got our new drummer, Goose, who's been in like Norma Jean and Fear Before the March of Flames and stuff like that. He's one of the most incredible drummers I've ever played with. And you could see him kind of like, come on, man, like let's play some fast stuff, like let's go. And then we were all kind of
your
like,
songs are slow. Like,
yeah. But it was like, I was like, oh man, just don't ask for that one. Just don't ask for that one. I don't know if I'm that good of a guitar player anymore.
So it's harder to play. It's fast as fuck. Yeah.
Well, again, I think at that time too, like that song was literally, I remember how I wrote that song. I was working at a factory, or I was working at a warehouse that sold medical supplies. And what I would do is if I had like 2 seconds from like pulling orders, I would just do like 6 lines on a sheet of paper, just write random numbers, and then go home and see what it sounds like playing it. So I would do like tabs. Okay. So like that whole song was written on like tabs that I wrote at work, and I just put them in my pocket and then went home and it was like, like that whole thing was like all
just random
numbers.
Well, do you know how to read music?
No.
Okay. All right.
Not even close. I don't have, dude. I never took a lesson. I picked up a guitar one day and it just made sense.
That's I love hearing that from people because I've gone to music classes.
Yeah.
And it just makes me feel dumber. I don't understand it.
Yeah. I don't understand
it. And I've met drummers that, they were drumming before.
Yeah.
That sounded incredible. I'm like, oh my God, you're revolutionizing drums. And then they go take drum lessons and come back and they suck.
Yeah, it's
probably. I don't want to break the rules.
Fucks their brain up.
Yeah, they have these rules that they have to follow, and they don't want to break apart from that. But
yeah, we had a drummer, and this. I feel like I'm just burying people, but yeah, we had a drummer, and this isn't. He was an amazing drummer, and there was a point in time I remember we were like recording with Kurt Ballou, so you can do the math there.
Yeah.
As to who that was, but we were doing a thing, and I remember. I wanted like a specific drum beat to a riff, and I was like, yeah, it would be like this. He's like, well, I never play that. And I was like, well,
try it.
Of course you would never play that because the song has never existed before right now.
We're writing.
You should play it, and then it would be something you would play, right. And he was like, I wouldn't play that. I wouldn't play anything. I would never do that. I would never do that. It was just like, dude, come on, man. And then it ended up being the drum beat that made the most sense. We like did everything, and he's like, okay, I'll try it. And it was like, it made sense. It was like, come on, man.
Yeah. Going back to what you were saying earlier about writing songs and having it become a job or feeling like work.
Yeah.
Or, I think that's subconsciously what ended up eventually leading to my band taking a break.
Yeah.
Because we've been doing it for 10 years.
Yeah.
And other factors came into play. Some, our bass player moved to Seattle. I moved out here.
Yeah.
But I remember we wrote a whole album before our break. We have an entire album's worth of music that no one's heard.
Yeah.
And we have it, obviously live recordings and shit like that. But I just remember the last song we were writing was just trouble. We couldn't figure it out.
Yeah, dude.
We were just going in and like, all right, so we're doing 3 and then 4 and then 2 and then 3 and we would practice like, nope, try it again. And it was just like, we would invite friends. We were that band. We always had 10, 15 people at band practice, just drinking, partying.
Yeah.
And it got to that point where like we were working so hard on this one song that people were just leaving. They're like, oh, well, this is getting boring. I'm getting a headache.
Yeah.
You know, I was getting frustrated with it. And that makes perfect sense to me. Like when it gets to that point, maybe it's time to cool off.
Yeah, you got to back off. Yeah. And like, this is going to sound really sad because it's been the best 2 years of this band's career. Like Low Teens has been the best we've ever done, but it was the perfect cool down for us to not, like, we didn't start writing music too soon where we were around each other constantly. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, for 2 years we've been around each other for 2 years straight. And like, there's times where like we'll be touring and it like, sometimes it'll be like 4 weeks into a tour and like Keith farts the wrong way and I get annoyed. You know what I mean? Like a small thing.
Well, especially in such a cramped space in the band.
Of course, right? Yeah. But then, there's other times where it's like you're a week in and then that fart hits you and you're just like, you motherfucker, man. And like you're angry at one of your best friends.
For no reason.
For no reason.
For a fart.
Just because you've been around each other for so long.
Yeah.
I think us constantly being around each other is kind of cooling that the creative juices down so that when it's time, it's going to be the best it's ever been because we literally, none of us have written anything in 2 years. Since Low Teens. Like I have riffs, but like I haven't put these riffs
or sent them
into something, or you know what I mean? Like I don't have segues.
Oh, sorry.
I have nothing, other than like, oh, here's a cool breakdown. Oh, here's a cool fast part. Yeah, we'll just put them in the bank. When it comes time, I'll pull them out. Like it's not like, hey guys, let's all get together and write a song. Right. Because I think right now, if we did that, it would be like the most volatile thing in the world. Where, it's like, why would we do that? I don't know. Oh, my chorus is better than your chorus. Like something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it's actually going to be, when we're done with this, we have a tour coming up in November with like Turnstile Vein and Angel Dust.
Okay, yeah. I actually recently saw Keith at some book thing he did.
Oh, yeah.
And
that club is awesome too.
Oh, yeah. 1720. You guys should play there.
There was like talks of us doing it because we have a day off on Thanksgiving. Ooh. And there was talks of us doing like a Thanksgiving like secret show, but we don't want to do it. We're gonna take the day off.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much to do in LA. Why not? I mean, you guys already always do that, regardless. Of course. You mentioned earlier the Motionless in White tour. I missed that show because I was in bed with like 109 fever. Yeah, and I remember still like I was just coughing and shaking. Like, I need to go to the show. And then my girl's like, no, you do not. Yeah. You need to relax and drink fluids and stuff. And I'm like, but I'm going to go to the show. Yeah. And then I'm like, fuck it. I'm not going to go to the show. Relax. And then you guys announced the fucking, we're going to go play the slide bar. Yeah. I'm like, fuck. Yeah. I want to go to that one. And but I was still dying. Dude. Yeah, of course. That was the last time I think that was the last time you guys had played. Yeah. So I missed it from fevers and nonsense. Yeah.
But we're playing the Regent. And that's going to be.
I'm probably.
Batshit crazy.
Yeah, I got to buy tickets to that because
it's sold out, but I got you. Don't worry about it.
It's sold out already?
It's already sold out.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
That's good news, man.
And Behemoth is that night too, so a lot of people are going to go see Behemoth. So I'm glad our show sold out because I was like really worried about that. I was like, fuck, we're playing the same night as Behemoth.
That's the crazy thing about LA, man. I'm like I said, I've only been here 2 years and I've been so overwhelmed because in Florida, in Miami specifically, no shows.
Yeah, you're on an island.
Basically. Yeah, no one goes down there. It's bullshit.
I remember early on, still to this day, it's like years go by where not months, like we'll play Miami and then like 2 years will go by and we'll play Miami again. And then like,
where would you play in Miami? Because I don't even know where you guys would fit. I mean, have you played Churchill's?
No, we played the Revolution, but
that's Fort Lauderdale.
That's Fort Lauderdale.
There's no venues in Miami. That's the other problem with why bands don't show up.
There is a place though that we did. There was a place that we played Davie a bunch, too. But that would have been before you were there.
Yeah. Really during our time there was one venue. It was Churchill's, and it was. I mean, have you been to Churchill's?
No.
It's basically CBGB's. It's fucking pile of garbage, but it's our pile of garbage.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah. It's our pile of garbage.
Yeah, you're talking to the wrong person about that stuff.
No.
Those venues are like my favorite venues.
Dude, I love it. There's graffiti everywhere. It smells like shit. There's puke on the walls. I mean, it was. I mean, I broke the sink in the bathroom there once by mistake.
Yeah.
I walked in to wash my face, and I leaned on the sink, and it just ripped off the wall, and I just left it on the floor. I'm like, all right, there it is.
And it just stayed there.
It stayed there for a few weeks.
Yeah.
The other shows I went back, I'm like, yep, there it still is.
That's great.
All right. But yeah, that was our shithole.
I know we played. I'm trying to think of the place that we played. We played. I want to say that like every time we did play there, it was like some sort of venue that was like built just for the show. You know what I mean? Like it would be like, hey, there's
a pop-up stage or something.
Kind of, yeah.
Okay. Well, that's how it is, I guess, in Miami, because there really isn't venues. It's either Churchill's or Arena.
Yeah.
There's no middle ground.
Yeah.
If you want a middle ground, you got to go to Fort Lauderdale, West Palm.
Yeah, which is still it's a hike, right?
Yeah. I mean, for me, from where I was in Miami, which was as close south as you can get to the Keys, it was about an hour to get to like Fort Lauderdale.
Okay.
You know,
it's not that bad.
It's not terrible, but I mean, you also can't. I know you don't drink.
Yeah.
But I'm a drinker.
Yeah, of course.
Going out to Fort Lauderdale to get drunk doesn't sound like a good idea.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Let's talk about that, since this is the beer guy thing.
Yeah.
You don't drink.
No.
Never have.
I was telling my girlfriend, I was like, I hope he doesn't want to talk about beer, because the last beer I drank was in 1993, 94.
Nice.
And it was a Foster's.
Australian.
Yeah, for beer.
So, is it health or just...
No, I mean, I never really talk about it. It's like my dad just had alcohol problems growing up, and that was just kind of like the catalyst for me just being like, I don't really want to do that.
That makes sense.
But he's, an amazing dude now, and,
Clean?
Yeah, but I mean, you think about like clean, I guess he drinks still, but not like...
It's not a problem.
No,
right.
Not even close. But like that's, if you put your parents into perspective of like how they were when you were a kid, they were your age now.
Yeah.
And like, there was literally like 2 weeks ago, I went to the store, I bought mini Oreos, put them in a bowl, and ate them as cereal. I'm 40 years old. I did that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I watch cartoons constantly. Like, my dad was trying to figure life out and had 2 children.
Right.
You know what I mean? And he was like he wasn't ready to not stop partying.
Right.
So like, I don't have daddy issues.
Sure.
I just had the issue of, okay, he fucked some things up when he was partying. I'm going to not do that.
Right.
But I also have my own things that like I'm probably fucking up, but I don't have children. So like, I'm eating Oreos as breakfast. You know what I mean? Like,
which surprises me, dude. I mean, you're a fit dude and you work out and but I always laugh when I hear dudes that work out constantly. Like, I just ate a bunch of donuts. It's like, how does that work? Carbo loading, I guess?
Only do it once in a while. Like, that's it.
Like, I don't eat sweets ever, and I'm still fat. You know what I mean? And it's mostly beer.
Yeah.
The beer's making me fat.
You're the beer guy. So.
I'm the beer. I got to drink beer.
It was funny because, like, Puff is a large man, and, he's 21 years old, and he's
really
big. So, like...
Wow. I didn't know he was 21.
Yeah, wow. And, like, I'm at the point, I mean, I love the dude, so like I don't want to see him hurt by it, you know what I mean? So we're always constantly being like that, and he'll come to us and be like, all right, man, I want to try to do this like keto diet, and like, I remember we got our gear made by this woman named Killa. She used to sing for Guar, like after Dave. It was the chick after Dave.
I remember her. What was her name? Her stage name?
Her name it wasn't Sylvester Hireman was the old one. It was there was Sylvester Hireman. She was the juggler chick from the 90s.
Yeah.
She's gonna kill me. Anyways, yeah, it's that chick. She makes like all of Jericho's gear, and stuff like that. Like, she's a genius when it comes to like clothes. Like, I don't know that stuff. And I'm like the most basic dude ever. My trunks literally have a W on the front, and then it has a cleaver on the back. That's it. Yeah. There's no like,
because you're the butcher of the butcher and the blade.
Yeah.
Butcher
Yeah.
Buffalo.
So we drive there or whatever, and like there's this brewery across the street from her like office, and Puff is like, yeah, I'm keto, and he's doing this like keto diet. We go across the street, we go that, and he's like, yeah, I want to try this beer, blah blah blah. And he's like trying all this beer. He's like, I'll take that beer. And me and Jesse are just like, dude,
Can't do this on keto.
but like we're not like, he went up to go to the bathroom, and I'm like, do you think he knows that like
The beer's
he's
not
basically just drinking a loaf of bread like
Yeah.
at this? And he like gets up, he comes back, and we like make sure that he gets it, and then he takes his first sip, and we're like, you know that like beer isn't keto, right? And he's like, why the fuck didn't you guys say that? It's like, you're a grown man, dude. Like,
You should know
if you're
these
gonna figure
things.
this shit out.
If you're gonna do a very super strict diet,
It was
you should
funny.
look into it. Yeah.
But, you know, like that's with him, you know, it's like a lot of people in fitness, I don't really want to talk about fitness all that much because I talk, but a lot of people don't realize that like there's that one thing that they love that they're not doing that isn't part of that. And it's like, I say this all the time. My girlfriend she can biohack a human's body like nothing. If you want to lose weight, she could put you on a diet that literally would make you lose weight. She's insane when it comes to that stuff. Not insane, like she's an insane like scientist. Not a doctor, by the way, but so don't take me. If you're listening to this, don't hit my girlfriend up and be like, scientifically, how do you think
Andy
about
said
this?
you're a doctor.
Yeah, I got this weird rash. Yeah, so she's like that, where she can strictly change things on her body by what she eats and stuff like that. Me, I always say that the one thing that labels is just peace of mind. Where it's like, yeah, I do want to fucking eat a bowl of fucking Oreos with milk, and I'm gonna do it right now. I'm good.
I'm an adult.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's just like, I'm 40, man. Like,
I want to eat fucking
I'm going to
Oreos.
fucking eat these Oreos at fucking 10 a.m.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't become a nightly ritual, like you're fine.
Dude, I have weird obsessive compulsive things with foods. And there was a point in time for 8 months straight, I ate 2 grilled cheese dipped in ranch and a banana milkshake every night.
Fuck.
Like at like 10 p.m. I would go to this diner called Nestor's in North Tonawanda, New York. I would get they would know by that point, and Rapboy, our old drummer, would go with me, and we would literally go there every night to the point where they would see us, and then it would just be down right on the table. We wouldn't even have to say it, and it was like disgusting, man. Like,
Yeah.
that's
literally the worst thing you could eat.
yeah. There was another time where like I got a nickname through a group of friends. They just call me Skittles. Because I used to always have bags of Skittles on me. I would be eating Skittles constantly. Like, this was probably like 2 years. I would just eat Skittles constantly. And
they're
then
delicious.
They're amazing. Dude, the purple ones, when you get a solo purple one, man, it is nice. I haven't had a Skittle in a really long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the type of things where like my weird little compulsive things are like that. And like right now it's gum. I have gum in my mouth right now. I have gum right there. There's gum everywhere.
Good for you on not sounding like you have gum in your mouth.
There's going to be people that are like, I'm constantly chewing. On our podcast, there was a point in time where I would just eat. Just be fucking eating and talking. And people would be like, dude, someone has to get Andy to stop eating because it's disgusting. Like, because you don't realize, they're like,
Yeah.
right up on a mic, dude.
Yeah.
The worst thing you possibly could do. Like during a podcast, that's funny too, because I'm sure like when you're on like podcast 1 through like 20, you're still figuring everything out. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing now that you're 80 in. Like I think we just passed 100 or whatever. We're like close, or they're maybe like 110 or something like that.
Okay.
At that point in time, you're a snob now. So when you listen to other podcasts, you're like, how are they letting that swing?
Right.
And it's crazy, dude. When you like listen to other podcasts and you start like,
It really bothers me when it's someone that has like a podcast that's been around for a long time.
yeah,
Like, and I hate to call them out, but like I've heard a couple Duncan Trussell podcasts, and I'm just like, what are you doing? It sounds like you're using a 1998 microphone from a computer.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And I'm not a pro. I mean, I've just recently started doing this too. So but every every week or so, I'm like trying to figure out ways to improve the sound.
Of course.
And I hate it that I feel like I blew my load in the first couple episodes with like the guests.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to start strong. I'm like, if I'm going to
course.
fucking do this shit.
You have to.
Episode 1, Adam from
Yeah.
Killswitch, and then Dave Whitty from Musical
Yeah.
Waste. I had fucking Braun
Dave-
from Mastodon on
Hold
like
on
episode
a second,
8.
man. Dave Whitty from Human Remains.
Well, yeah, Burnt by the Sun.
Burnt by the Sun. Like,
Yeah.
played with Melt Banana for a little bit.
Melt Banana, yeah.
Discordance Access. He's like one of my favorite drummers of all time. Like Human Remains, his like death metal band was the band that got me to play guitar.
Nice.
Yeah, and I freak out like every time like, when that like River Black, when they announced that he was
yeah.
going to do River Black, I like hit him up and I was like, dude, what is happening? What can I need to hear this right now. Like what the fuck? Yeah. You know what I mean? And that like is just, yeah, Dave Whitty is like on my like list of like untouchable legends. Dude, and it turns out he's like one of the sickest dudes. He's like
he is the sickest dude I know.
When you guys fucking he does like a brewing, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how I met him.
Yeah.
I got the call from
So bring that back to beer.
Right, there you go.
Okay, yeah.
So I got a call from my boss at Cigar City when I was working in Florida. And he was like, "Hey man, I'm going to need you to pick up some sample cases from the distributor warehouse and take it to this show, Municipal Waste." I'm like, "What?"
Yeah.
He's like, "Yeah, go take it." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, for sure."
Yeah.
He's like, "Yeah, here's Dave Whitty's number. Just hit him up when you're there, give him the beer."
I love that.
And I show up, call him, "Here's the beer, man." And I'm being like all like kind of nervous, like, "So you're Dave Whitty, man. Nice to meet you." And he's like, "Yeah, man, hang out, party." And we was like drinking and didn't see him again. We exchanged numbers.
Yeah.
And then I got a trip out to Virginia. So with Cigar City.
Yeah.
I hit him up. I'm like, "Hey man, I'm coming to your town to do the Cigar City thing with Hardywood. And we're going to do some events and shit." He's like, "Oh, you need a place to stay?"
I'm like, how cool, man.
I'm like, "You don't know me, man.
Yeah.
We met briefly at a show and you're
Yeah.
offering me a place to stay in your house."
Yeah. Well, that's Richmond, man.
Yeah, dude, he's the nicest man ever. And like we stay in touch. I text him pretty much every other day. So it's he's one of my favorite fucking people. But
Yeah. He's amazing, man. Like that's for us to play with, like when we early on, we played with Burnt by the Sun a lot. And like, we were just like, dude, Teddy, the bass player, was in Human Remains. John was in this band called Time's Up that I loved. I had this like 7-inch. Yeah, they're from Jersey.
Yep.
Dave was in all those bands, and then Mike was in he played it on a For the Love of record. He was in, why can't I think of the goddamn band right now? Usually I'm an encyclopedia on this shit. Anyways, it was an insane band, and that was like, we got to play with them, and even Mastodon, like Braun and Bill are from Rochester, so like they had a band called Lethargy that we used to all go see when we were like kids,
remember Lethargy,
and we're
yeah.
like kind of similar, same age. I think they might be like a year older than I am.
Okay. Yeah, I think so. Something like that.
Yeah, and then when they played in Today Is the Day, it was like, oh shit, like, and that record still to this day, like In the Eyes of God, I think that, or yeah, In the Eyes of God, or I think that's the record that Braun and Bill played on.
Yeah.
It's amazing still.
Yeah. No, it's terrific. And you can hear Braun's style of drumming in there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's just, yeah, it's cool that you had those dudes, and like with Dave being into beer, I mean, that's like,
Oh, it was perfect. It made perfect sense. Like
Yeah.
when I came up with the idea, the only reason I did the Adam one first was because we were in the middle of making a Killswitch beer.
yeah.
So like I met him at the brewery, and I was like, we should do a Killswitch.
Was that
beer.
Cigar City?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we did the Alive or Just Brewing.
Yeah.
Which was my like contribution
I love that.
to the company. I was like, I want to do this. And my bosses were all like, yeah, that's fine.
That's awesome.
They're like, I asked Adam, like, I don't know how this works money wise. And he's like, I don't want any money. I just want to make a fucking beer.
Yeah,
It'd
yeah.
be great. I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, cool. Let's
Did
do
you
it.
guys do like, so are you still doing stuff here in LA?
Not with Cigar City.
No, but you're doing, what's that company here?
Well, I'm working with Boomtown right now, but it's more of a just kind of commission base.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I'm not as involved as I was with Cigar City. Like Cigar
Yeah.
City, I was coming up with beers. I
That's
did the
cool.
Killswitch one. I did one with I did one just called Guayabera that now is just won a silver medal at Great American Beer
Unreal,
Fest.
dude.
And I'm just like, I'm looking at pictures of Wayne, who's the head brewer, accepting the award. I'm like, that's nuts. Like, I remember sitting in the office, he and I, discussing this beer, like going over how I wanted it. I'm like, I want it to be like this and like this and like that. And he's sitting there like a mad scientist writing out numbers and Play-Doh.
You still keep in contact with those guys?
Yeah,
that's awesome, man. Yeah. It's like, okay, I'm gonna now ask you because I know nothing about beer.
Okay.
Like I said, Foster's. That's where it ended.
Okay.
And not because of that. Every time I say that, people are just like, no wonder you don't drink. And it's like,
you tried the shittiest beer.
Yeah, sure, dude. I guess. Southern Comfort was right after it. So like that's the second one. When I say that, they're just like, yep.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You don't drink.
Yeah.
Because like this is going to sound insane. I started drinking coffee when I was like 32. Mm-hmm. So I'm still new to coffee, but like I love coffee. Like it's my favorite thing. Like when I wake up, every single day I have to drink coffee.
Me too.
And now I'm starting to get to like notes and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Where like I got to try that. And like I went to Norway and I got to go to like Tim Windeblom's like
wow,
his place, Nice. And I did like the like sample thing.
Flight.
Yeah. And it was awesome. So like when you're doing this like stuff, like what our bass player, this is what I know about beer. I know Foster's. I know that our bass player hates IPAs.
Okay. So you guys made an IPA.
Yeah. Yeah. So what is it like? What is your beer? Like if you're going to just randomly, you're not going out to like try something new. Cause I'm sure you probably have nights like that where you're just like, fuck, I'm going to try something new. Like, what do they say what these people have? And then like they have something and you're just like, I'll try that,
Well, it's funny. It has evolved. I've been doing it for 8 years. So like in the beginning, I wanted the most extreme shit.
Yeah, of course.
And then I got really hooked on the IPAs. I still to this day love them.
Yeah.
But I'm very picky.
Yeah.
Of
course. It's your work.
If I go to a bar, if they have an IPA that I know is good, I'll have that first.
Yeah.
If they don't, I'm usually going to go for a Pilsner.
Yeah, yeah.
Or a nice clean Czech Pilsner or something light, something I could chug.
Explain now.
What do you mean?
Well, you got Pilsners.
There's
Let me go. There's Pilsners. There's Giraffe. No.
Giraffe?
No. What is it? There's like stouts.
Uh-huh.
And then there's
lagers.
Yeah. There's one that starts with a D though, right?
I mean, there's barley wine. There's sours and gozas. D. There's double IPA. Draft is just a style of pouring it.
Yeah.
And draught, like you mean like the Guinness draught? Is that what you're asking? Like
no,
the DRA?
I thought there was. No, that's it. Yeah.
So that I don't even really know what that means. Like, it's meant to replicate the feeling of a draft beer from a tap.
Okay.
That's really all it really. It's not a style of beer.
If I was to drink a beer now, I feel like Guinness would be the beer I would drink because it looks like a milkshake.
Well, yeah, and it's not as aggressive. It's very light, and it just tastes like coffee.
Yeah,
which is a one up for you because you like coffee.
I went to the Guinness factory. I saw how it was made.
Oh, you should have tried it there because that one that they sell here in America is nowhere near as good as that.
But
one.
every time I see it, I'm just like, whoa, that looks like a creamy ass milkshake.
It
looks like a brown cow.
Yeah.
It's
funny talking to people that don't drink on a beer podcast, but I like it. I like it. I had Kurt on. I had Kurt Ballou on, and he doesn't really drink, but kind of said that he's starting to taste them now.
Yeah,
he's like, if there's somebody has a thing around to taste, I'll try it. Because it is interesting. It's an interesting flavor. If you're going for craft beers and stuff like that, there's different flavors that you can play around with, and if you're into coffee or food or anything, you want to try things.
Of course,
it's not about getting a buzz or getting drunk.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
So this is gonna be like when I first started drinking kombucha. I was in the van and like I popped open a kombucha.
Oh God, did everybody hate you?
No, and I drank it and I was like, "Yo, this is what beer tastes like." And literally everyone was like, "Nope." I was like, "This is what I remember beer tasting like, guys. This is what beer tastes like." And they were just like, Not even close, man.
even close.
Not even close.
And it's definitely changed since the days of Foster's. So.
Yeah.
But you guys have a beer with Barrier Brewing.
Yeah, with Barrier, yeah.
Those guys are awesome. They sent me a 4-pack of it.
They're amazing. Yeah.
I hit them up. I'm like, look, man, you guys don't distribute out here. I'm a fan of Everytime I Die. I know the dudes. Can you send me something? And they're like, yeah, dude, here's a 4-pack. And they're like, oh, we're doing one with Thrice. We'll send you that too.
Yeah,
I'm like,
dude.
Okay.
Awesome. They're great dudes too.
So who was that?
That I think Keith.
Keith?
I think Keith did something like he was the one that talked to those guys or whatever.
And how hard is it for you being in a band that is pretty much associated with partying? Like your band
I party
is
in other ways though.
like what?
I mean, it's just like I don't know. I have just a fun time around people, so like I can always make that happen. And like I'm an extreme people watcher, and I'm like an observer. So like I have this like weird thing where I pick people's like mannerisms out. Like as I'm like in a room, I can see these people, and then like dude, it's the funniest thing in the world. Because if you can reenact some of the shit you see when you're not drinking, it's wild. Like there's some crazy. There was this dude this one time. His arm would never leave this weird. He'd always be in this like weird posture. You can't see me, but his arm was like almost at this. It was uncomfortable.
It was up like if it was on a sling for a broken arm kind of a deal.
But this like shoulder was up, and he would hold his beer like that all night for like 4 hours, dude. Like just like this, and just like really small movement from his chest to his mouth, and like. I thought it was like the funniest thing. And then I actually met him sober, and I was like, dude, do you realize
how you drink?
Does your shoulder hurt? And he's like, yeah, I kind of always have like shoulder pain. I was like, dude, for 4 hours you sat like this, dude. Like, and broke it down. He was like, no, I didn't. And I was like, actually, I captured a picture. And like, like show him a picture of like, it's a band joke. We make fun of you all the time. I'm sorry, buddy, But yeah, like, I'm an observer. I like playing music. Like I like being like the DJ. So like just shit like that. Like there was a point in time like when we did those like Ozfests and we did like Ozfest 2004, and then we did those like Sounds the Undergrounds, and then all those Warped Tours. I've always been the guy with a PA. So like pull out and be like, guys, today we're gonna do the first 4 Metallica records. Like come hang out, Or hey, we're gonna do all Pantera. Hey, we're gonna do all Black Sabbath. Like let's, and then like buy our bus or whatever on those tours. It would always be come hang, and then we would like listen to bands, and I just kind of like get into that, that world, and then you'd start like headbanging and playing air guitar, and you're not drinking at all.
And you could, you being a wrestler, you could like throw someone around and you think it's hilarious.
Yeah, throw them through a table.
Yeah.
Oh, you have a concussion. Yeah. I had nothing to do with that.
Speaking of, I had Jordan on 2 Minutes to Late Night. You guys did that little bit I thought was hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
They're like power slamming people through the bed with bugs on it or something.
That was great. It's like really hard because like when people outside of wrestling want you to do things with wrestling, they automatically think you're just
a pro,
a master of gravity. So it's like, and I don't want to tell you the specifications, but there was like one person there was like, just choke slam, just do a choke slam. Yeah. And I was like, dude, like a choke slam.
You need to know that you need to jump with me.
Yeah, not even. There's like more to it. There's like, they need to post on my shoulder, and like, you can't just lift a human being like that. Like it's not possible. And then a choke slam isn't just like a body slam where you're only going, basically you're falling from your hip to the floor. A choke slam, you're falling from about 8 feet in the air, just down
on your back,
onto a dirty mattress on concrete. It's not really going to break that much, but they're just like, no, just do it. And I'm just like, okay.
Sure, man.
And then you're thinking like, you're looking at this person and you're like, okay, yeah, I might be 240 pounds and I might have muscles, but like this person is almost 200 pounds.
There's physics involved, man.
Yeah. So like I just ended up like judo throwing people, like literally like tripping them down. Boom. They're like hitting the mat. And then the one person that got it and understood it was from Buffalo. It was awesome. Like this dude like lived, moved from Buffalo to New York, and he's just like, I got this, man. I'll post on something. And I think we did like a power bomb or whatever like that. And it was really good. And then Shinobu, we have this like Japanese like fan that shows up every once in a while on tours, and she's the little Asian girl at the end of it, where that like hits me with a tornado DDT, and I take the bump through the
merch table.
I went through like garbage cans.
Right, the merch table was the sound dude.
Yeah. Never mind. And we did like a whole spot, like where she like smacked me in the face, chopped me, did like the lucha spot where she like we tied hands, she climbed up a ladder, jumped off, hit me with a tornado DDT, blah blah blah, and like she's like one of my favorite people in the world, and I would hope that I'm one of her favorite people in the world. So her slapping me in the face, she like felt really bad, and I was like, no, it's all for the camera, like slap me in the face. She's like, no, I don't want to slap you in the face. And then I was like, as soon as the camera was on, they hit thing. She just turned into an animal and slapped me. She slapped the shit out of me, like whack across the face, chopped me as hard as she could, up the ladder, goes through, and then she goes, no, like that. And I was like, where did that come from?
Nice.
Yeah,
turned it on for the cameras.
It was really cool.
Yeah, man. And, we somehow ended up talking about wrestling again.
Yeah.
No, it's
Kind
one
of
of those things that I try to explain to people, whether you like it or not. It's wrestling is one of the most popular things.
I'm going to say this right now.
Right now.
If you don't know anything about wrestling, there is a context of wrestling for you. You just haven't found it.
You haven't found it. That's for sure.
That is exactly it. Because it's just like theater. Right now, as of right now, 40-year-old Andy Williams, you would have to pay me to go to a theater show. It is everything I don't want to do. Like sit in a chair, watch some long drawn out thing. Is that to say that every part of like every single show is not for me? No. But I'm not, it would be torture for me to go to one of those things. Mm-hmm. Do I not think it's talent? Like I don't think it's talentless at all. I know that a bunch of talent goes to it. I just have not found my context to go to a theater group and like see something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, that's how I look at it. Country music, not my thing.
No,
not at all.
Even though you could look like a cowboy if you wanted to.
Of course. And that's, it happens a lot.
Yeah.
There's a context out there for me. I just haven't found it yet. You know,
Wheeler Walker Jr. That's your context.
Well, isn't that supposed to be like a comedy bit, right?
Don't call it a comedy bit, man.
Okay.
He's serious as fuck.
Yeah.
No, it's hilarious. It's all parody, satirical. And his whole thing is that he's trying to get over with the CMT people. And trying to host like an award show or something. It's like,
I love it.
You got a song about how he likes his pussy in boots. And all other shit like that. And that's the only country I can listen to because it's hilarious.
I like, what's it? Sturgill Simpson.
Yeah.
He had like a record fully about water, like sea.
I don't remember that, but yes.
It's his last record. It's awesome. Okay. It's amazing. But it's like really like, it could be, no, I'm not going to go that far. Jesus Christ. I was saying almost like a Chelsea Wolf record, but it's not. It's more like, man, that was me going way off there. It's just really atmospheric.
Okay.
Like that's
atmospheric country.
Yeah, I'm telling you, dude.
Can't wait for the sludge doom country to come out.
Yeah. Well, isn't that supposed to be like Ass Jack, right? Everybody thought like, what's it called? Hank Williams III.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I guess so.
Yeah.
If you want to call it that, but yeah, check out some wrestling, guys. There's something for everyone for sure.
Yeah.
You'll find someone that you're into or a character or, if crazy feats of athleticism is what you're into,
If you want to watch human beings explode, go through glass, go into barbed wire, there's that.
Yeah.
You got death
There's
matches.
good storytelling. There's bad storytelling on WWE TV.
Yeah.
But the same kind of bad that people sit at home and watch, like soap opera shit.
Yeah,
you're getting that now.
Yeah.
So there's something for everyone. Is what I'm trying to say. But dude, thank you for having me out here.
Thank you.
I normally these go for like 40 minutes. We're 2 hours in.
Okay, cut it into two.
Cutting into 2 hours.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for inviting me out.
Thank you, man.
People listening. Andy Williams on Instagram.
It's at Andy Complains.
Andy Complains.
Yeah. At that, and that's pretty much my life.
Listen to the podcast.
Yeah, Kickin', no G,
Kicking Ass.
It's Kicking Ass Podcast.
With Jesse and Andy. Oh, fuck. Okay. Last thing before we go.
Okay.
Steve Austin.
Yeah.
Talk to me.
He's
How
the
did
man.
that happen?
He's the fucking man.
Did he call you guys? Like,
So his producer is this guy named Sean.
Mm-hmm.
And in Buffalo, a buddy of mine did the local like punk hardcore, like he did like, it was like 12 to 3 a.m. He did like a punk to hardcore show on like college radio.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to go in all the time and like help him out. And then just kind of be like his assistant, I guess. Not assistant, but like sidekick, I guess. Like as we were like doing the show, we would like, hey, you know what, pick 10 records. Okay, cool. You know, here, you know, and then we would talk and stuff like that. The guy that took over after Far Side was this dude named Sean.
Mm-hmm.
And he was there. And then the band had started at that point in time. And he would have me on just as like a guest. And then he actually had the band play like live on WBNY 91.3 in Buffalo. And then he like graduated college and moved on. Hadn't talked to him in years. And then I get this random DM from Angry Hero. That was his name, the Angry Hero show. Angry Hero Sean saying like, hey, would you ever want to be on the Stone Cold podcast? I was like, Sean, what are you doing?
Why are you even asking me? Why aren't we there right now?
Like, Sean, I have not talked to you in 20 years. How are you hitting me up?
How are you? Are you alive?
This is insane. Yeah. And he just, you know, he produces that show and it came up where like, there was like a point in time where like Austin was getting pretty stale. Like, the podcast was like every once in a while he'd have like a wrestler on or like a band guy on or like someone like it. But there was like, dude, you're now just interviewing the guy, your groundskeeper.
Right. I
for
mean,
like
I think he
5
literally
episodes.
did a podcast with a stranger that messaged him on.
Yeah.
They were just like, yeah, I'm just going to bring people on. And
Yeah.
I'm like,
but
what
like
do
he
you...
would have that Ted Fowler dude on like all the time. And it's like, that's the guy that like helps take care of his like ranch when he's not there. And it's like, what is this guy talking about? Like,
Right.
you know, and they're like talking about like groundhogs and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
you know, Sean had hit me up and I was like, yeah, of course, I would love to do this. And then since then, like you know, like, dude, you meet your idol, like one of your idols, like growing up.
Yeah.
And like, he's so normal that it, like saying goodbye, like it changed from like me going, holy fuck. Like I'm standing in front of like Stone Cold right now to like leaving and be like, dude, come on, man, leave me alone. I gotta get out of here, man. Like there's traffic. Or there was a night at bar wrestling.
Right.
So I was like, fuck, I gotta go to this show.
I gotta
dude.
go work, man.
I gotta stop talking. Like I'm nervous. I was nervous for that. That might have been the most nervous I've ever been.
You did good, though. It sounded fine.
Yeah, dude, if there was video of it, like there was 100% people would think I was like a homosexual, like on that. Cause I was just staring, everything he was saying, I was like, my hand was like on my face, like, no, Steve, you didn't do that. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I thought I was like, get out of here.
No way.
You're funny. You know, like literally just like my mannerisms were just, I was so happy and it was just wild. It got to the point like Allie and Jesse were on. Well, Laura and Jesse were on, and like Laura was just like, you were like beaming at him, and I was like, yeah, man, it's fucking Stone Cold Steve Austin, you know. Dude. But then I get extremely nervous like when I wrestle, and then right by where he lives in Santa Monica, there's a Hawaiian food's like one of my favorites. Like Hawaiian food is like one of my favorites. There's a place called Ruts Hawaiian, like right there in Santa Monica. And Brody, like that's like his like favorite place. So he's like, dude, we got to go to Ruts after. I'm like, dude, I can't eat. And I remember like ordering food, just sitting there and I just stared at food. And like, I've never done that in my life. Like I could not eat. I was like almost throwing up before that bar wrestling show.
Would you say that bar wrestling show is your biggest wrestling show so far in terms of just who you were working with and everything?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
for sure. And you know, I don't know, man. I like
That's
again,
a big day. You got
a huge
Stone
day,
Cold,
dude.
and then you're wrestling with.
Dude, I woke up. I had to take a walk. I literally, my eyes opened, and they weren't even awake yet. We all stayed in the same room, and I remember like my eyes opened, and I was like, I got to take a walk. And I just like went outside and like contemplated life. Just like walked up and down this like street. I don't even know where the fuck we were. I was like walking up and down the street, and I got back, and I was like, you guys got to get ready now. We got to be there early. We cannot make a bad impression for Stone Cold. Get dressed now. And Laura's like, does this look cute? I'm like, I don't know. Just get fucking clothes on. Let's go. Like, get in the fucking car. Let's go. You know?
Yeah, man. He and Jericho are the two guys that at this point in my life, I've been fortunate enough to meet and hang out with everyone that I admire in the music world.
Yeah.
And most of the people that I admire in the beer world.
Yeah.
But I really haven't done much with the wrestling world, which is my third biggest passion. 2006, when I was doing the stage production shit, I did, I think it was Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
In Miami or Fort Lauderdale.
Very cool.
And that was the closest. It was like, I see them walking in, everybody in their suits. There's Kane, there's The Undertaker. I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah.
That was the closest I've ever gotten. So I think that if I were to nerd out or punish anyone, it would be Stone Cold and Jericho.
Yeah, dude.
But I'm like, you know what? I'm going to will it so. We communicated once via Twitter because I had, thankfully, Gina from El Segundo Brewing.
Yeah.
They made those cans of his IPA for WrestleMania.
Yeah.
They only made it for WrestleMania.
That's so cool.
And she gave me one.
Oh.
We were just at a beer fest. And I'm like, oh, you guys do the Stone Cold beer? She's like, yeah. I'm like, man, I fucking love Stone Cold and the beer's great. And she's like, cool, you want one? I'm like, yeah. And she hands me the can. I didn't think anything of it. I'm like, oh, cool, can of the beer. And then I find out that they made those for him for WrestleMania.
So cool.
So I have one of those and I posted a picture. I'm like, look at what I got. And he responded, like, those are hard to come by. How'd you get that? And I'm like, Gina?
Yeah, just like slide into the DMs, be like, yo, brother, listen.
I really want to hang out and talk about beer with you. I think that I'm qualified.
The thing is, though, man, if I can do it, like I'm friends with Sean, I can just be like, hey, man, my buddy Eddie, he is a beer guy.
I just think I could help him with beer because I know he was interested in opening up a brewery or something.
Yeah.
He was getting into that world. It's like, I have 8 years of grinding in that world.
Yeah.
And in 8 years is not much, but...
Of course, it's still grinding.
I've done it all. I've done it all.
Like Gregory Iron, I gave him, I was like, hey, you should have this dude on, you know? And then Matt Vincent's been on, so I was like, you should have this dude on. And like Stone Cold, the other day, Gregory Iron was on that West Virginia show. Uh-huh. He says that now they're so close that if he sees Stone Cold call, which happens every day, Stone Cold calls him every day.
Wow.
He knows to just let it go to the voicemail because he cuts promos. And then Greg cuts one on him every day. So every day they cut promos on each other. Voicemail? Every day. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
So, I mean, it could be, I just hit up Sean and be like, hey, I have a buddy that's in the beer business, has a podcast based on beer. But and
he likes rock and roll.
Loves rock.
So rock and roll beer guy.
Hates Led Zeppelin. Don't bring up Led Zeppelin.
Was it because the pants were too tight? I
don't know, man. You can always tell how those dudes were dressing in those days. Anyways, I don't want to.
No. Yeah. Well, all right. So we went back to wrestling again.
Yeah, kind of. We was podcasting. We're just fans of his podcast.
Yeah, for sure.
We're both podcasters.
Exactly.
We're just really enjoying the man's podcast. We don't know what he's really up to. We just really like his podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, dude, thanks again. Thank you for inviting me to your place, your girl's place, but where you're staying, because a lot of people have issues with strangers coming into the house, and it's a weird. Like I said, I've been around you for years, but we've never really been like friends.
Yeah.
We just like, hey, what's up? Hey, nice to see you. Hey, how are you?
Yeah,
that's how the scene is.
Of course.
There's so many bands that just see each other floating around, and
yep.
But I appreciate your time, man.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate this.
All right, guys. Cheers.
Bye.